you didn't grab a name tag on the way in, I have some more. Does everyone have a name tag? Okay.
John, how much of these binders have you charged for that will be invoiced?
35 one time, they keep them forever. Okay, so everyone should have a name tag, right? Very cool. Next thing I kind of want to just get into is the following. You may notice that we're recording today. So part of Keller Williams Lakeside's vision and part of what we're casting, and thanks to Al getting this set up for today, is that we actually will have an archive of hyper-local, relevant Ignite material for Lakeside agents. So you can see instructors that are teaching locally here, so you can go back and revisit those at any time on the One Stop under Ignite Trainings page, and you're able to review the class, rewatch the class. Maybe you liked a certain part of the class, and so you're going to say, okay, we started at 9 a.m. This is about an hour in, so I know that if I want to go revisit it, I can go to that video and go an hour in and hear it again. Okay? You talk about a recruiting tool. You talk about a retention tool. We think that this is what's going to elevate us, because after doing some homework, Lakeside would be the only local Keller Williams, let alone real estate brokerage, delivering content like this consistently on demand. So we're looking at 2020 more on like an on-demand training coaching analysis, where you take the class, we assess kind of where you're at, and then we know how to coach to you. Does that make sense? We're really excited about that. I want to introduce, as you know, my name is John. I'm the operating partner, humbled to be here at Lakeside. And today actually marks 3 months of being OP, so that's kind of cool. And then Sean Cassidy, our newly minted team leader, who just completed 90 days of training and basically knows everything now. So you can just see him for everything you need and anything you need. Also comes, as for those that aren't aware, comes from a teaching background, coaching background. So he's kind of going to be sitting in different Ignites, eventually taking over Ignite 1, right? Probably at the next session. And what's exciting about Sean is he's looking at different key performance indicators, outcomes that we're looking to learn from the class. So he's going to say, did we really achieve that? Did we not achieve that? And things of that nature. So, sound good? Yeah, good. Cool. This is the most lecture-based class that we have. And so let's kind of start setting some foundational expectations. Is that fair? So Ignite is, and I want you to hear this. So the first thing I'm going to say is, you're going to hear me say golden nuggets a lot. I give golden nuggets when I teach. I say, all right, here's a golden nugget. And when I say here's a golden nugget, I strongly, 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 strongly recommend that you write down whatever I say next. And it's nothing about, oh, wow, John's so bright or brilliant. It's about supplemental insights that I'm going to give you that add to the curriculum. For example, if we're talking about time management, I may say a golden nugget would be this rule in this book. Check this book out in the next 6 months. Check this podcast out in the next month. Does that make sense? So if you hear me say golden nugget, that's your trigger to do what? Write it down, absolutely. So the first golden nugget, just say, very good, everyone's got attention, that's good, okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to hop right into something, a little bit of logistics, and then we're going to hop into a quick activity. So first off, logistics. If this is your first time attending a class, welcome. If you've been here before, this part will be repeat. We have restrooms here, men and women's. We have men and women also through this little hallway next to the green screen. We have coffee on in the kitchen as well. So if you, at any moment, need to use the restroom, grab a cup of coffee, feel free to do that. You're adults, you can step away and do that. I ask that when we are in class and when we're participating, we disconnect to connect. And the reason I say that is because, do you think I get a lot of calls and texting today? Okay. I vow to you that unless we're on break, my phone will be down right there. And I just ask that if I'm giving my time to you in that manner, because I care about each and every one of your successes, and you've taken valuable time to sit here today, that you get the most out of today by being fully engaged and connected. Is that a fair request? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I have handouts that you'll be getting in a little bit. This will be a timely thing. Just don't let me forget. So who wants to be in charge of reminding me to give you handouts? Not all at once now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'd like you to find a partner, somebody that you don't already feel very familiar with. It's okay. Everyone here does work at Keller Williams. No one's going to hurt you. No one's going to bite. I promise you. It's a new year, new you. I want you to find a partner and pair up with them. And yes, that might mean you need to physically move to this next piece. So 3, 2, 1, go. I'll tell you what we're doing in a minute. Yes. Or we're going to see if we need a group of 3. What's going on here? Okay, good. There's 3 of you here, right? We got Rick up front looking for a partner. Okay. All right, we need one group of 3. Who would love to invite Rick in? No, he's Rick. Yeah, Rick's Rick. All right, Rick, right over here. Awesome. You're only going to be in this spot for about 5 to 7 minutes. So you can leave your stuff. It's okay. You don't need your computer. Okay, great job. That was a great activity. As we kind of roll through today, one of the things around great classroom management is being able to move quickly through a lot of material. And so I'm going to, through today, give it to you, let you take control, and then take it back. And the way we take it back to move quickly, especially because we are recording, is I'm going to do something called 3, 2, 1, shh. So when we do 3, 2, 1, shh, if anyone's been at a team meeting before, you know that we all do what? Shut up. You all be quiet. That's right. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to spend the next 6 minutes, and I'd love for you to introduce yourself to your partner. How long have you been in real estate / when did you join Keller Williams? Okay, everyone's got a different story there, right? Some people joined from day 1. Other people had years of experience elsewhere and joined here. So name, real estate / when you joined Keller Williams. What did you do before real estate? And then what's the one thing you're looking forward to getting out of 2020? 3, 2, 1, go.
So now I do this and I'm an investor. I joined 2 weeks ago. Licensed.
Get back to work.
Sometimes I want to know myself. It's all about since high school.
What drew me to we did well. We did great.
I know.
You're now seeing
Oh my gosh.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, it didn't help. It was like, okay, I'm
I spent a lot of time studying.
but it didn't feel good after. Like, I could just feel yeah, but sometimes it feels like you're asleep.
Now you're seeing
Yeah, I had one in Arizona. Thank God my girlfriends forewarned me what it was like, because I would have been like, what? It was awesome. Really? It was
also
yeah.
Take another minute.
and I'm like,
30
so we
seconds.
were kind of hoping to. But I do see it.
All right, team, 3, 2, 1. Good job. That was good. That was your first practice. Nicely done. All right, I need 3 people to volunteer. 1, 2, 3. Stand up for me, please. All right, Mr. Lou.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to put you on the spot first. So we have the benefit of you going first. So Lou, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Everyone say hi to Lou. Perfect.
I'm brand new in the business.
Yeah. No. All right, so Lou,
Yes.
what I'd like you to do is introduce your partner.
My partner here is Shania Bill, and this is actually his first day. He just started.
Welcome.
He just came back from an extensive vacation, and now he's ready to hit the pavement and get going here. Prior to this, he was a dealer at MGM, and his admirations for this year is basically getting knowledge and experience.
In the industry. Beautiful.
Yep.
Nicely done, Lou. Have a seat for me. We're going to come back to you in a second. Mr. Rick. Hi. Introduce one, both of your partners. Okay.
Right? Tony?
There we go.
Couple of good guys. Jim does a lot of, he's newer, right? About a year here in the business, Callaway on the other side. He worked a lot with investors, and he's looking to expand his horizons. So still work with investors, man, obviously, but maybe get out of the comfort zone and build up a residential real estate practice. Right on? You used to play football?
Basketball. You know, I like football. I like
basketball.
It always feels good when I hear it.
Did you play football?
No.
No. You
Be
play
a linebacker or tight end, you know, so it's all good.
He's a quarterback for the no, he played professional basketball for 15 years. And that sums it up what I got. Right? Tony, I couldn't hear him very well, but he as well just kind of got into business, right?
No, I've been in business for about a year.
Okay. Well, a year, kind of like still newer, right? I mean, I'm thinking I've been in it like 30 years. Well, I say 1 year is a little bit newer. He was part of the team for a little while, and went independent not too long ago. last year. And same thing, just looking to get structure and get the business going.
Great. Thank you. Have a seat. Appreciate it. Mr. Mark.
This is Rebecca. Been in real estate a year and a half. She came to Keller Williams because she heard about their outstanding training and support. She comes from a family of real estate agents. Her father who does a lot of commercial work. She's got 2 kids. One's relatively young, less than a year old, 6 months. She's very excited. She loves the fact that she can be her own entrepreneur and work at home with the kids. She's ready to be a great success.
Love it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Round of applause for all of our 3 members. So Lou, Rick, Mark, you all did a really good job of what?
Repeating what they said.
That's right. Listening. Bingo. Golden nugget. You want to thrive in this business? Listen. I'm telling you, listen. Okay? We have 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? Listen. Here's what you want to listen for. Listen for what's not being said. Listen for what's not being said. Oftentimes I find that when we are having conversation with others, we're just waiting for them to finish so we can do what? Respond or speak. That's exactly right. And we can really fall into that trap if we're in scripting or script modes because we know, good morning Phil, we know that there are proven ways of how we can handle objections. And so we're listening for that, and what happens is we don't hear what they're not saying. What else did they do really well? Anybody?
Remember.
They remembered. They had recall. That's super important, right? Now, I noticed something with Lou. Lou jotted down bullet points. Do you think he does that on a listing appointment? Do you think he does it with a buyer consultation? Do you think when he's on the phone with somebody in his database, he's getting a referral, he's taking down some key points? So if I were a newer agent on break, I may introduce myself to Lou and say, what are the 5 things you ask buyers, 5 things you ask sellers? Just a suggestion. Just something to think about. Between Lou and Rick, we have over 55 years of real estate experience. Yes, they both started under 5 years old. Mark, we got a full, what, week?
This is my 4th day.
4th day, we're not even at a week yet. So great job on the listening and the listening skills. That's so key. Anything else that they did that was well done?
Spoke loud enough that we could hear him.
You brought up a point. You said, I couldn't hear Tony. How in a conversation, maybe in a busy coffee shop, if you run into someone, how do you control that, Rick?
I'd have to go outside. Really.
You
I have a hard time hearing.
You'd make that clear to them, right? So how would you say that to them? If you're starting to get into dialogue and you think it could go somewhere, and what do you do?
Literally, I pull up shop and say, hey, let's go find another booth or take it out to the car or something like that. Because I can't hear you.
Right.
And what you have to say is important to me.
Okay, there we go. See the finish? What you have to say is important to me. Good job. Anything else that they did really well? I think they followed directions. It was concise, to the point, boom, boom, boom. Okay, so we're going to hop right into content. Thank you so much. If you could flip to page 7, I would appreciate it. Out of all the classes in Ignite, this class is the least changed, but the rest of our curriculum as we build is going to be completely different in regards to command and technology and the integration. This will be a foundational course for some of those conversations, okay? So on page 7, there's some focusing questions, and some of you have it filled out from the last time you took it, about taking the course and getting your head in the game, right? And so one of the things that is super important is to understand why you're sitting here today. Every single person in this conversation, and this is a conversation, okay? You're each on a different journey to be here today. And there's things that have shaped you. There's experiences and people and mentors. There's mistakes that you've made and successes you've experienced that have placed you here today. And that's not by chance. There's a reason for that. Yes or yes? And we're at a pivotal moment in history, folks. And you may not believe that, but I want to make a point on something. The real estate industry, this would be a golden nugget. The real estate industry has not changed very much over the last 35 years. And now before people go up in arms and say, wait a minute, we have instant offers now, and we have Zillow, and we don't buy things with cash with briefcases. Hold on a second. Yes, at the surface level, there's been a lot of change. But fundamentally, the real estate industry hasn't changed. You still need to get pre-approved. Yes or yes?
Yes.
You still need an agent to give you access to a property. Does the agent have to physically be there today in certain states, in certain counties? No. But you still need access to the property. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Absolutely. You still need to make an offer on that property. Yes or yes?
Yes.
The way we make the offer might have changed. We may not present them in person anymore. Do you know that we used to sit down, say, we have 4 offers. Let's discuss the 4 offers. Mr. Seller, after the discussion, which do you feel you would like to go with? This one's out. Got it. This one's out. Got it. This one wins. Got it. Did you know then the agent would actually call the 3 offers that didn't win? Yes. Pick up the phone, do the rotary. Just kidding. That doesn't happen today. It should happen today. That would be a beneficial thing to happen today, but it doesn't happen in the same way because we move at this pace. If you want to thrive in this business, golden nugget, have balance. Have balance. You can write this anywhere in a margin, it doesn't matter. Have balance. Because you're in business to do what? It's right on page 7, it tells you. You're in the relationship business 100%. And you can't have relationships unless you have what? Balance is a part of maintaining healthy relationships. But I can't get a relationship. I can't have a relationship with somebody if I've never met you.
Right.
So to meet you, I need to do what? I need to get a lead. So write this down, golden nugget. You're in the lead generation business. Lead generation business. Any sales business is lead gen first. Any and all. I hear people come into the organization, or I hear people come into the industry, and they say, well, I want to help people achieve their real estate dreams. And I ask, well, how did you get interested? And they say, well, I was watching HGTV. Okay. But there's never this connect of what they want to have as an outcome and how they need to get there. And I want to be crystal clear. The sources can change, but you're in the lead gen business. What business are you in? 100%. And the balance is how can you continually lead generate and lead follow-up? How do you lead generate and give great customer service? How do you lead generate and hit your own goals? Thus, the creation of teams began. Because the rainmakers who got it understood that they could never take their foot off the pedal and lead what? That's right. And they still needed to give great customer. That's exactly right. So we'll talk about tips and tricks today. We'll talk about follow-up Tuesdays and care call Fridays. We'll talk about lead generation sources, and then you should have 3. You focus on your top 2, and 1 will be 60% of your business. That's a golden nugget. I'd write that down. 3 sources of leads are coming into you. The top 1 should be at least 60 to 70% of your business. Minimum. Minimum. Before we actually get into the art of real estate, you can flip to page 9 for me. This is my favorite part of this course. It's on my growth plan. I will be teaching this by the end of quarter 2. I love this class. I'm going to give you the 20-minute, 25 maybe, quick version of this class. I want you to star 6 personal perspectives in your book. And the next time you see this full day class come to our region, even if we aren't hosting it right here in our training center, for $50, which includes lunch, you're going to want to attend. Gary Keller, anyone know who Gary Keller is? Who's Gary Keller?
Who's the founder of the company, co-founder?
He's co-founder, that's very right, and he's currently our CEO. Yeah. Gary says that these perspectives are what made Keller Williams unique and is actually why he started the company. See, the brilliance of Gary Keller, he didn't create anything new. Think about what this man has done. He's succeeded through others, has he not? He's casted a vision so wide, so large, that people can fit into that. But the key with him, that I think is more brilliant than any of that, he follows these 6 principles and has repackaged them and applied them to real estate. So when I go over these 6 principles with you, and we have a discussion around examples of them and how they can show up in your world, what I want you to hear from it is regardless of what you choose to do over your next year, 5 years, or 10, revisit these principles. I don't care if you're having spousal issues, financial issues, family or health issues. These principles are core principles, core beliefs to thriving in your life. I'd write that down. Thriving in your life. And I mean that. This is not hyperbole. This isn't fluff. These are fundamental principles to help you thrive. When you do what? When you apply them. And that's on you. I can lead you to water. I can give you some salt. But I can't make you drink. These perspectives are your decision. They're your choice. And the very first one is self-mastery. Who would like to read for me in the grayed out box on the very next page, at the top, self-mastery?
Self-mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make you the master of you.
One more time for me.
Self-mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make you the master of you.
I would highlight or underline or mark those 3. Skills, habits, and knowledge. Skills, habits, and knowledge. Skills, habits, and knowledge. You see, folks, the thing about self-mastery is, and thank you, by the way, for sharing. To master something, how many hours does it take? 10,000 hours, Malcolm Gladwell. That's a golden nugget. If you haven't read that book, I would jot down Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours. And so here's the thing. We go to these conferences, we go to these workshops, right? We get so excited, we're pumped up, woo! And then we get back after 2 days and we put the binder on the shelf and nothing changes. The reason why is because it's time on task over time. I would jot that down as a golden nugget. Time on task, comma, time on task, comma, over time. I don't think people will disagree with this statement, but in the 4 years I've been in real estate, I have found that realtors are not the most patient people. It's just a general thing I've observed. It's not a bad thing. I think there's some really great qualities around being a real estate agent and kind of being like, I wanted it last Tuesday. Time on task over time, consistency compounds. I'd write that down too. Consistency compounds. It's about the activities and habits that you're going to develop. You don't set out to run 26.2. You run 1 mile 26.2 times. And then you ran a marathon. And so if you begin your training process, if you begin your habits, that's what can help you get there. Is it 26.2 or 26 1 miles? Same outcome, different way to think about it. So self-mastery begins with who? You. Yes. And that's why I started today's course about listening. Because if you're the only one talking, which is ironic today because the class I'm teaching, so it's like, eh. But you aren't learning. If at any point you don't quiet and open your heart and mind and soul to learn and listen, it's incredible. And I bet you that with great self-mastery, here's how it applies to real estate in your business. If you have a dominant type D personality that you're talking with in an organization or in a meeting, and then you're talking with somebody who's very analytical and thought processing and whoa, slow down, right? You're going to approach those differently. But if you don't understand how you are coming off in your personality and who you are, you're going to struggle. And so I encourage you to really think about, if you haven't taken something called a KPA, Keller Personality Assessment, put it on your growth plan to take it in the next 90 days. You can email leadership, specifically leadadmin@kwlakeside.com, and we can have a KPA sent to you. And then we could do a workshop in a group setting to validate. Because as we understand our personalities and how they all intersect, we can better understand how we can thrive, not just survive. And if you were wondering, that's the Keller Personality Assessment, and you can send an email to leadadmin@kwlakeside.com. Next up is 80-20 principle. This isn't highlighted in a square box, but if somebody could read right under where it says 80-20 principle, those first couple sentences for me, I would so appreciate you. All right, Valerie, there we go.
Commit to the 80-20 principle. The idea that 20% of your actions lead to 80% of your results may be one of the most powerful principles you can apply to your life. It's about getting the most from your time and effort. It's about maximizing your results. It's about having focus. All right.
If I were sitting in the course, I would probably mark focus. One of the things that we have drifted from in our society in general is a consistent, disciplined focus. Would you agree? It's snap, book, gram, chat, this. And so what I want you to really think about and get super focused on is, if you and your clients aren't focused on the right things, who's leading who? Anyone know where the 80-20 principle actually came from? Pareto.
Thank you.
You nailed it.
Close.
Yeah, that was good. You nailed it.
And some of the letters.
That's right, you did. Pareto's principle. So if I'm not familiar with that, I might write that down. And what Pareto's principle is, do you remember what it was, Rick, of how it actually started? It didn't just jump to 80-20. It started...
I've read it several times,
Okay.
but I can't recall.
So Pareto was an Italian philosopher, economist, bless you.
Thank you.
And he was perusing, we call it perusing. I don't know what that really means exactly, but Haley goes, hey, I want to go peruse this store. I'm like, let me know if you need my wallet. So that was a joke, you can laugh. It's okay to laugh. Okay. So, thank you, Nick. So he noticed that 20% of the farmland, those owners owned 80% of the land. So 20% of the people in Italy and surrounding mountains, they owned 80% of the agriculture, the land, the livestock. And so he started noticing that this was true across life. That if you owned 80% of the land and livestock, you probably had more wealth, right? And if you had more wealth, you probably had more access to future wealth and future opportunity. And so those children of these families had better tutoring and mentoring and training, and right? And so he noticed this theme across everything, from banking to economics to education, and he came up with the 80-20 principle. And it's very simple. As a real estate agent, if you're brand new to Keller Williams, let's just say, I don't care how long you've been in the industry, is it more beneficial for you to focus on perfect business cards and a website, or setting a listing appointment? Every time. But guess what happens? People join us, and what do?
Spend weeks
Weeks.
picking out
Business cards.
a card.
And to their defense, they're new and they're scared. They are, even if they don't admit it, they are. It's scary to jump into a new industry. We can all agree with that. And so, what do I say on the listing appointment? Well, don't worry about it. Go get the listing appointment, then we'll teach you. Just go get it. Well, what do I say to them? Well, how about you attend scripts and prospecting classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you go over different objections and things to do, so you know what to say. Well, when's if they ask for a business card? You could just say, why don't I text you my information? Because it is 2020. My point is, folks, there's good decisions and great decisions. And the 20-80-80-20 rule is that you focus on the right activities, the good decisions that help you hockey stick the results, to help you throw fuel on the fire, to balloon and blossom that up greater.
Yeah, just real quick. So time on task over time. If you take this a step further, like throwing gas on the fire, think time under tension. And a great line I heard a long time ago was about your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is a terrible place masked as a good place. And I was like, that is because when we're comfortable, it feels good, right? But what are we not doing when we're usually comfortable? We're not growing. And think of anything. Think of athletics, business, fitness. You're not growing if you're not uncomfortable. So time under tension. So make sure, it's like John said, it's usually pretty comfortable to sit and pick out business cards, right? That's pretty fun. We're not nervous about that. But to get on the phone and start lead genning, we usually get nervous. We don't like rejection. We're going to hear some objections. We're going to hear those calls. But that's what's actually going to help us grow and help that hockey stick.
And the last thing I would say, that's exactly right. The last thing I would add to that, golden nugget, competence brings confidence. Competence brings confidence. In other words, who's most prepared wins. I've been in appointments with folks who say, you know what, I had written Keller Williams off, but I just went here to, put it on my list of 3 to interview. And you were the most prepared, asked the best questions, got to know who I am as a real estate agent and my goals. And then once you opened up the culture of this company, I actually had to take a harder look at Keller Williams. Who's most prepared wins. Who's most prepared wins. I'm telling you, who's most prepared will win. Who would like to read E to P for me? E to P. On the next page there. Not all at once.
High achievers are always looking for the purposeful way. By doing this, they break through the ceiling of their natural behavior.
Read that last line again.
By doing this, they break through the ceiling of their natural behavior.
That's exactly right. Thank you. Natural behavior. Natural behavior. The 4-minute mile cannot be done. Land on the moon, are you kidding me? What's the point of going west of the Mississippi and the Strip and give them the UP? See, here's the thing, when you think about natural behavior and tendencies, it's to Sean's point, Humphrey means entrepreneurial, E means entrepreneurial. It means I'm going to, throw everything up and see what sticks. P means what? Purposeful. It's being intentional with your decision making, and it's understanding that we all have the same 24 hours, yet we don't have results. There isn't one. There is no life hack on this. It's time on task over time again. What helped me with each book, those 2 books have the fundamental models, the systems and tools built right in on how to build a powerful business. In countless interviews, Gary Keller and his team found a theme of people who went from E to P, who broke through that ceiling where they kept banging their head against the ceiling. Here's something I jot down if you haven't heard me do this part before. There's only 2 options if you don't break through. My boss sucks, my job sucks, this is not for me, I'm going to do something else. And what happens is that person, until they learn to break through and feel the pain, they always resign. They quit jobs, they jump consistently, maybe they're inconsistent in their relationships, maybe they're inconsistent in their health. No one here, of course, outside of this room. The second, and I would actually argue this is even worse, more purposeful with your time is to do what? If I want to make 200 grand next year, I have to go from working 8 hours a day to what? 16 hours a day. And so you're like, okay, I got this. I got cash, great. I don't need sleep. I'm awesome. And I make 200 grand. Good for you. Where's the work-life balance? Then all of a sudden you say, well, next year I want to double again. So I'll just work 32 hours a day. Wait a minute. Here's the one. It's only 24 hours. Folks, for us to break through that ceiling, you need to have talent to look at. Some resources to help with this is the one thing. The one thing. When you chase two rabbits, you'll catch neither. The book, The Golden Nugget, the one thing. Read it. The podcast, the one thing. Listen to it. Gary Keller's Think Like a CEO. Listen to it. There's 7 podcast episodes. It's phenomenal. Think like a CEO. Think like a CEO. Find it wherever you get your podcasts. iTunes, Spotify, I mean, it's everywhere. Think like a CEO. So the one thing, think like a CEO. Those two focuses are great resources. If you say, I want to focus on E to P, this is how you do it. Get your hand. Now I want you to, on the back of your hand, so thumb and back, the tip of your pointer and back, the tip of your middle and back, the tip of your ring and back, the tip of your finger in that exercise. Good, okay. Now do this for me. Start here and come up to the top of your thumb and then touch over here and then over here and then over here and then over here and come all the way down back to. Okay. Would you agree one was more efficient than the other? That's called being entrepreneurial versus purposeful. So when you're a 16-year-old kid, or whenever you get your license first, you are, I mean, this was me. I would go and drive around, get gas, then I'd come home, I'd go to 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee, and I was like, well, you just at the gas station? Like, well, I want a Slurpee. And then I would come home, then I would go to the bank, because I needed money, and didn't have much money, but I would go to the bank. Then I would come home, and then my mom's like, can we go to the grocery store? I'm like, sure! And I would run to the grocery store, I'd be in Vincent Joe's shopping, doing my thing, and then I would come back 5. I said, you know what? I'm going to get gas, stop at the bank, say hello to my friend, and bring him a Slurpee, and then stop and get my groceries before I go home, because I don't want my milk to get warm. And I learned to be more purposeful with the approach and what we're doing. I accomplished the same thing in less time. E to P. In your approach, maybe one of you are sitting there today going, I have never attended a class at college. One way I could be more purposeful in 2020, and when you come to trainings in the training center, you meet new agents. You hear diverse perspectives. You listen and hear things that are proven models from the #1 real estate company on the planet. It may be something that you could say, I want to bring some of this back to my team. Something to consider. Sean?
Yeah, just real quick, what could be a pitfall too, it's like John said it perfectly, being entrepreneurial is kind of throwing something at the wall. What happens when we throw everything at the wall now? Something usually sticks, right? So it'll work. So we'll think, okay, this is what works down here, will not work up here. Because you run into totally different issues and problems. Resources, distractions, time, you simply can't do it. So where a lot of people don't take that next step is there's an adjustment here. And in order to make that adjustment, usually what do you have to get out of? It goes back up to there. So once you hit it, it's realizing that you have hit that ceiling. And in all of my appointments I've had with a time to be in more production. Verbatim, I don't have the time. I can't sell or I can't do more production. Those are not mutually exclusive. Those are two completely different things. And once you realize that, that's the first step to then making the pivot. That's the key.
Great, thank you. So the last thing I want to say about that is if every dotted line is a natural behavior, a new ceiling, would you agree that some people in this room have a higher natural ceiling for talent than others? Right? Some people are better public speakers. Some people are more physically gifted. Some people are more intellectual naturally. They love to read. Yet, that's their natural ceiling, and we can still break through. And, you know, I say this example every time. It's not just because Jamie's here. But did you know that if you are in the United States and you are born in a certain 40 zip codes and you're over the height of 6'10", you have a 5 times more likely chance to get into the NBA? Those two qualifiers, height and zip code. Okay, that's That's their natural ceiling of achievement, their propensity for success from day one could be better. But it's their chance to go get it, isn't it? So what happens is if I start here, to Sean's point, I hit the ceiling of achievement, I need to look at models, systems, and tools, as well as people who have done it before me, so resources, and I need to break through. And I hit another ceiling of achievement, and I look for the same thing. And then I hit another ceiling of achievement, and I look for the same thing. And so there's this consistent cycle. It's like a cyclone. And you can either spiral up or down. Here's the last thing I'll say about it. We all know that one person that did one thing, that spiraled into another thing, that spiraled into another thing, to another thing, and all of a sudden, 4 years later, they're divorced, and their life has crumbled. But it wasn't just one thing they did, and it wasn't even just their fault. That's real, folks. Life. Well, it can happen in a great way, too. You can come out of that. You can spiral upwards. You can hit new levels of success. I've seen it. I've had somebody sitting in my office going, I joined your organization with less than $1,000 in the bank. And today, I just bought cash. My car for cash, and I have 60 sitting in the bank. And all I did was consistently compound what I was doing. So you can do it. You absolutely can do it. It starts with this cycle. So before we get into the next three, I need 5 ahas from anything we've talked about today so far. Ahas stand for agents helping agents. And the way I look at it is like you go, so if you have an aha that clicked with you and you choose not to share it, you're actually robbing another agent that may not have thought of it in that way. So think of it that way. 5 ahas.
Lead generation.
Lead generation business. That's what we're in. Absolutely. 4 more. Bless you. Thank you.
Listen to what's not being said.
Listen to what's not being said. Absolutely. There's a vibe in this room already. I already feel it. Consistency compounds. Doing the right activities consistently, and all of a sudden it compounds over time.
Getting out of your comfort zone.
Getting out and establishing out of that comfort zone, 100%.
The industry's not changed in 35 years, however, it's on the cusp of changing.
That, we're going to talk about that a little bit later today. Yes, it's about to flip, and you are with a company that's ready for it. So, yes. Good job. Awesome. Learning based. What does it mean to be learning based? Someone read it for me, please.
A learning-based individual is an individual who has made the decision to use effective learning as the foundation piece for their action plan to develop their life.
The key on that, effective learning. The golden nugget I would write, are you learning to learn or learning to do? Are you learning to learn or learning to do? There's so many people, it's my earlier reference when I talked about you go to a workshop, you go to a conference, you go somewhere, and then you have this great material and you do nothing with it. It's about execution. You can't you gotta finish the sentence, man. So the key here is saying by when. Here's a golden rule or golden nugget for you to write down. Anytime I go to a training, a workshop, a conference, here's what I do. When I'm in the airport ready to fly out, I look at my notes, 20, 30 minutes, and I identify 3 things that I take away from the conference. And then I say, what's the one thing I want to initiate, start, or develop within 48 hours of returning? So it could be something as simple as switching my systems on calendars. I might start a new calendar that I learned at this conference, and it's going to make my life so much better. So 3 things from all my notes, and then what's one thing out of those 3 things that I'm going to put into place 48 hours of today. And what's amazing is that now you have an actionable of within 2 days, you've done something from the conference. And if somebody's already going to ask you, what'd you learn? So instead of saying, blah, 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 you can say, well, I actually learned these 3 big things, and I've done one thing already since I got back. You'll be like, whoa, look at this person. That's a hack that works.
Yeah, a couple things with this one. And sometimes we shut off knowingly. We put up these qualifiers to who we're going to learn from. Sometimes it's experience. Well, I'm not going to listen to that person. That person's only been doing it a couple of days. Now, unfortunately, it's becoming rare. If someone, for example, is from a different political party, we won't listen to what they're saying simply for that reason. Think there's always an opportunity to learn from everyone. And a prime example, you know, when John and I first went down to Austin, he strikes up conversations. It kind of annoyed me at first. With every Uber driver, we got in Uber, John just starts talking to me.
You never told me this before.
I know, I did. Throw this out. But after a long day, you know, you're learning all day, I'm like, John, I'm just exhausted. But what do you do? From each driver we got, we learned their story and why they're doing what they're doing. In certain cases, somebody had lost their job. They're talking about their family, what's about their family. So you learn a little bit about the Austin economy from an Uber drive from a restaurant back to the hotel. So if you can train your mind, and again, this is becoming rarer and rarer because people are not wanting to learn because they're putting up all of these walls for people that won't listen to. But think always there's an opportunity to learn from everyone. You can get something from every conversation you have if you're what? What's number 3? If you're what about it? If you're purposeful.
Good, awesome.
Sorry, I'm sorry I threw that.
So I'm annoying. The last thing around learning based that I want you to really think about, commit to, be open to, is the moment you feel you've arrived, I'm concerned about you. The moment you feel that you can't learn something else or you won't learn something from someone, I'm concerned about you. Because I would just encourage you to find a bigger room. I'd encourage you to get into a bigger landscape, a bigger level. You may be a big fish in a small pond. I encourage you to branch out from that. And the only way you do that is through consistent learning. Being purposeful and tactful with how you learn and the way in which you approach it. The best way to learn something is to teach it. The best way to learn something is to teach it. Anyone heard that before? Yeah. Not just me. Flip to the next page, please. Step 5, high achievers. Loud and proud.
Remove beliefs from their thinking that hold them back.
One more time, loud and proud.
Remove beliefs from their thinking that hold them back.
The way I write this is I say remove limits to their thinking. That's how I've always come from. You're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too young, you're too old, you're not smart enough, you're too smart. How many people have had one of those thoughts creep into their head in the last day? When you think about limiting beliefs, it's what I call your deterministic screen. Write that down. It might sound too fancy or technical, but it's very simple. Deterministic screen. What that is how you view the world. I'll give you a silly example. Write this down, golden nugget, yellow Lamborghini. You'll always remember this. On the street, this guy sees a yellow Lamborghini pass by. And it's like, whoa, that was really cool. That thing sounded awesome, the purr, right? Yet, 30 floors up in the sky, in an office building, it looked like a taxi. Well, which was it? See, the friend driving the Lamborghini was lifting his friend to the airport for $10. But was it a taxi? Was it a Lamborghini? Or was it both? We have beliefs in the way we view things. We are conditioned, we're preconditioned to see things in a certain way. It goes back to our ancestors. It's how we survived. I just would encourage you to remove some beliefs around how you view certain things. Different perspectives. One of my favorite lines, and now for the rest of the story. Right? There's version A, there's version B, and then C's like what actually happened. Because we have perspectives over what we think. We project ourselves onto life. Limiting beliefs can be overcome. I'll go back to the 4-minute mile, landing on the moon. We can do so much more. Here's a quote from Gary Keller. It's longer, but it's worth it. We grossly overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 5. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that say, I want to double my income next year. And I'll be, okay, what life experiences and evidences and approaches and trainings and tools do you have that can show us how to do that? And they go, well, that's why I'm talking to you. I'm like, oh, no pressure. And then they're like, well, I made 100 grand last year. I'm like, ooh, okay, so now you want to make 200. And so then I actually start to ask them, well, what's important about the 200? So if you were to make 190, is that a failure? Okay, well, what about 175? Oh, so what you're saying is the real thermostat's 170. It's not 200. Why'd you pick 200? I don't know. Wanted to double. Yet, could that same person, if they go from 170 to 290 to 460, they'd be north of $500,000 within 5 years, wouldn't they? Consistency compounds, and here's the nugget. Success is sequential, not sudden. Folks, in this quick, hit, fast world we're in today, people have these beliefs that you can just strike it. Yes, yet I call those rising stars. And when rising stars fade, what do they become? A falling star, a black hole. Think about the hockey stick effect and understand that you are in control of your destiny. And having no limiting beliefs is adopting all of these principles, is looking at how you approach your life, how every single day you say, oh, this coffee cup's half full, not half empty. It's a mindset around what you're doing. And when you begin to, what I call vertical stack, that way of thinking, anyone know what vertical stacking is in business or even in life development? Anyone ever hear of that?
Sounds like it would be building one thing after the other.
Yes. So an example here, hyper local for you, is we're not just a real estate company, aren't we? We have a training facility in development. We have a technology specialist who helps us integrate with tech with our clients at a higher level. We have mortgage on site, so you can get buyers pre-approved if they walk in or you meet them here. We have title on site. We have insurance reps on our partner board. Look at all the things you can do right here at 45609 Village. We do that on purpose because the key here is that in terms of no limiting beliefs, we want a market center that's thriving and worth the driving. I had an agent for 2 years drive from Lansing, Michigan to be here. And she only moved back to Lansing because of family issues and for other businesses. She was here for 2 years. And every quarter I would call her and say, you know, you passed 3 Keller Williams to get here. And she goes, I know. She was that committed. She had that belief that this company would change her life. And it did. And it has. So if you want to think about what limiting beliefs are currently in your mind right now around lead gen, what limiting beliefs are in your mind right now around being the best you can be and thriving? It's a limiting belief you're projecting on yourself. And listen, I get it. I grew up with an alcoholic mother. I was told things in drunken stupors from her, not intentionally from her. She had an issue, a disease. She's 12 years sober, by the way. But do you think I have issues still to this day with emotional connectivity? Putting up walls, always having to be the guy that figures and solves things out because I had to look out for my little brother. Did my mom love me? Absolutely. But I have limiting beliefs to this day because of that relationship. Now, her and I have been working on that. We are much closer today. It's not a boo-hoo. It's a, that's me being vulnerable with you and on camera. And telling you that we all have things that have shaped us.
What makes it difficult too is this is a switch that we're born with this on. with not having, when we're kids, we do not have limiting beliefs. We grow up, we always think we can do anything. They ask you what our imaginations run wild. At a certain point, for different reasons, it gets turned off. And it could be our environment, it could be what we're told, it could be whatever it might be. It's turning that back on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and share with you, since everyone's logged their emails. It's very cool to see. I looked at Ford, Uber, Instagram, and Facebook. And they're each on one page, and it's their story of how they got to where they were. And in each case, there was over 15 chances for them to quit. They were out of money, a contract was void, a partnership split up. There was the easy opportunity to say, okay, that's it. It's taking it that step further. And there's also acknowledging that, look, Uber didn't want to be the #1 ride-sharing platform in San Francisco. That was part of their goal, but that was never their main goal. Was, okay, we just want San Francisco. What caused them and allowed them to break through those limiting beliefs is one thing, and that's vision. You have to, individually, you have to have a vision for where you want to be. And too often, it's too small of a vision for what we can potentially do.
Yeah, and too often too, it could be you simply don't know, you're not in tune. Again, that whole quote about grossing overestimate 1 year, underestimate 5. Well, how many people here have a 10-year plan written out? How many people have a goal of how much you're making in 3 years from now? And how you're going to do it? So these are just awarenesses. And remember, and I don't know if I said this earlier, I don't think I did. You're not going to figure it all out in this class today. This class is about getting you into the right mindset and frame to thrive in the next 11 classes and then begin that journey. And how many repeat people are in this class today that have taken Ignite before? I would say nearly 40% of the class. So if I'm new and I'm sitting in this class, I may go, wow, that's interesting. Either the class has sucked before, I'm just kidding. But every class, you're not going to relearn the whole world, but there's going to be, raise your hand if you've learned one thing today in the first 55 minutes. Okay, great. So have I, by the way. So thank you. Last, personal perspective, accountability, being accountable. Loud and proud, Becca.
Accountability, the first and foremost, an attitude and an approach to your entire life.
And then read that quote right beneath it.
An accountable person said, everything in life is a result of my choice of action. I own my life.
What I want you to look at for accountability is, are you going into thinking? Are you going into every situation as a victim or an owner? Going back to that listening for what's not being said, when I'm talking with somebody and I'm hearing their life story, I interview a lot of people, right? If they are consistently saying, well, this boss did this, and this coworker did that, and this person did that, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, I'm not hiring that person. Just like when I have an agent call me and say, my client did this, and my client did that, and title did this, and the mortgage guy did, whoa, who's the quarterback of the transaction? You are, the realtor. Tom Brady doesn't go up on the stand and say, Bill Belichick and Kraft suck. My linemen are terrible. What did he say when they lost this weekend? I'm committed to the Patriots organization, and I'm planning to resign. Can do better next year. Take ownership. Be accountable of doing what you say. I know people don't like the dirty A word. Not that word, this word. It starts with A, and then there's 2 consonants. C, C. Nick, it's not the other one. I told you that. Be accountable to yourself and to others. I have a way of thinking that a mentor taught me, and it's not everybody's going to like you. I already know that. By the way, not everybody's going to like you. Just in case you haven't been told that yet. But what I can say, I think, maybe not, now that Sean just said I'm, that I have found that people worth being in relation with respect me. They don't always like me. I might annoy them, but they respect me. And they know that they're always going to get that from me as well. And that's about me being accountable to myself first. It's about me saying, you know what? I'm going to take ownership of what's going on right now. So a way you can be accountable in your business is you can say to your clients, listen, I'm going to go above and beyond for you, especially during the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. But after 7 and before 8:30, I'm with my family. And I hope you can appreciate and understand and respect that, because that's already a 12-hour day by the time I'm prepping before 8:30, after I'm leaving the gym, and by the time I'm winding down after 7 p.m. putting my little ones down. So is it okay with you, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Buyer, if any communication outside of that is first responded at 8:30 in the morning the next day? Are you okay with that? And that's called setting expectations. That's being accountable to a life by design you want to create. I can't tell you how many issues have been sourced in this last 90 days coming from real estate transactions happened between the hours of 7 and midnight. Agents have had a long day. They worked really hard. They're exhausted. All title and mortgage reps are pretty much off the record now, right? After 7 o'clock, yes, of course, we all know that mortgage rep that goes above and beyond. We all know, I get that. But in general, after 7 o'clock, it can wait till 9 a.m. It can. Trust me. Trust me. I got a text last night at 9:30 at night on a Sunday from one of our agents asking like 9 things. I did not respond. I responded this morning at 9 a.m. Good morning. Happy Monday. Hope you have a great start to your week. Here we go. By the way, next time, can you email me? This is a long text. Setting expectations. You are in control more than I think you realize. Nobody here, I think, expects a doctor to be accountable to his schedule. And if you show up at Friday at 9 p.m., where are you? Doc! Because we know that he golfs Fridays and left at noon. And Monday through Thursday, from 8 to 3, you might get an appointment. We already know that. So why are we any different? Because we want to go above and beyond and give great customer service? I don't know about you, but a great person I want to facilitate the largest transaction in my life is well rested, has a great family balance, and is able to be a whole person, not a robot. So when you're accountable, what do you want to be accountable to? And the rest of today's course, unless Sean has it.
Write down the book, Extreme Ownership. Extreme Ownership. That changed my perspective on accountability more than other. And just one thing that also changed, it's because this is such a key, is having ownership. And the one example, I'll say it real quick, is one of my heroes, Steve Eisman, captain of Detroit Wings, 20 years old. 20 years old, he's the captain. There's players on that team that are over 40 years old. The coaching staff, they used to be called the Dead Wings in the 80s. I'm sure a lot of you know that. But they were a terrible team. The coaching staff would go to Steve Eisman, who at 20 was the best player on the team, and say, look, you're doing great, but the other players, we have players on this team just are not keeping up. Like, they're not pulling their weight, they're slacking off, they need more work. Steve Eisman did not say anything to the players that he knew were falling behind. Guess what he started doing? He started showing up. A 20-year-old kid leading 40-year-old men started showing up a half hour before every practice, didn't say anything, started lacing up his skates and going out for extra work when he was the best player on the team. What started to happen? Even players that, you know, had been in longer than him, had more experience, they started saying, you know what, if this kid's doing that and this kid's the best player, we need to start doing that as well. That's how he was able to lead, by owning it himself, even when it really wasn't himself being the issue. He knew he had to do that as a leader. That's one tidbit that really motivated me to be more accountable in my personal life.
Isn't he great?
Steve Eisman, yeah, he's one of my favorites.
No, Sean. I mean, he'd pull out those clips just like that in our interviews. We had like 19 interviews. And he would do that. And I was like, that's who I want to be in business with. 33 people applied to be team leader. 33 people. By the way, you're part of top 50 company in the world now. Just got news over the weekend, and the final numbers will come out this week. But we landed in profit and profit share and productive agents somewhere between 38 and 40 in the world. Because of you. So that's huge. And we'll have an updated flyer and marketing pieces for you to put in your listing presentations and buyer presentations. Because trust me, that benefits you in a lot of ways more than just money. Yes, sir.
How many offices do we have in the country?
Well, there's 912 globally, and over almost 800 in the United States and North America. We're in 37 countries now. Okay, I need 5 AHAs, which stands for what?
Agent.
Agents, yep. Need 5 AHAs before we go into a 5-minute break.
I think limiting beliefs, which actually comes out of like your comfort zone. Like I know I have that with lead gen. I say I need to do it, but then I don't want to do it because I don't want to bug people. I put all these things in my head.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing for me that I have to try to overcome.
So 2 things to that. I totally get where you're coming from. Totally get it.
Yeah.
Right? 3 things. Start with just 8 dials a day. Just 8. Just even if they don't answer, just dial 8 times and hang up. I'm serious. Should have seen my first month as team leader. Hello? Like, well, I guess I can't call them for a month. Okay. Something like that.
Yeah.
Set a dial goal, predict. 2. Think of somebody that really matters to you, a close friend. Can you picture them?
Yeah.
Okay, you have someone?
Yeah.
Okay. They are moving next week and get completely screwed over by another realtor. Because they interviewed a few, they knew you were a realtor, but they didn't, wasn't top of mind maybe, and then they don't get the dream home that they want. Take that pain you're feeling right now, and put that into every dial, and simply say, Holly, you know me, I'm John, I'm really excited. I'm here to serve you, and I want to make sure you have a world-class experience. I just want you to think of me when you think of real estate, because there's only so much mind share we have. Is that too much to ask? What can I do to earn your thoughts? Okay. And then lastly, lead gen together. So many people don't want to lead gen around you because they're afraid of. There is camaraderie there. Get a headset that is noise canceling. Don't use the excuse of you can hear people. Trust me, for $100 you get a pretty good headset that cancels that out. And so if I were you, I'd say, hey Nick Tracy, can I lead gen with you twice a week? He would love that. He used to be on a team for 6 years. So there's 3 suggestions. I'm not going to give suggestions to everyone, but okay. Thank you. I saw more hands for ahas. Yes, sir.
Success is sequential, not sudden.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Anyone see Pursuit of Happiness? 3 more.
Be an owner, not a victim.
Be an owner, not a victim. Luke?
Focus on the right activities. Not just being active.
The right activities.
Right activities.
I'm telling you, the right activities. If you don't know what the right activities are, look at the top agents in the company and say, what are you doing? Talk to 10 of them, and then pick the top 2 or 3 things you'd like to do. I said I wasn't going to go off, and I just did. But okay, 1 more. Mr. Tony.
I like what you said about taking ownership. Instead of sitting back and complaining and take ownership.
Life's hard.
Do it, yeah.
Business is hard. That shouldn't shock anybody in this room.
Show the way for you, for your team.
And we can wake up every day and decide. Every day. Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. And when I mean 5, like we're starting in 4 minutes and 59 seconds when I said 5-minute break. Now you have 4:55.
For Christmas.
With this name, I got it. So we redid the whole house with carpet and flooring, which was badly needed from 1990. So that was kind of like a gift to each other. Then she really wanted a room. She's been wanting one for like. Yeah. I feel like we've had 3 or 4 vacuums and so a room, her dad wanted too. So I said, well, whatever one's better, we'll keep that. Whatever one you want, and you return it. And so she kept that one. No. And then I built her. Oh yeah. Well, I kind of do that through the year. But like essential oils, she freaking hinting to my mother that she really wanted 2 new scents. So like I'd surprise you. We have like 4. But I was going to show you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw your puppy, and I know Christine.
I built her a bonsai shelf with a grow light. So she's got her best gift was a bonsai plant. And so she went to a bonsai class in Troy and like learned how to create bonsais. And so now we have a whole shelf. It's called our grow crib. Every season, yeah. But she actually has one for every month. There's 12 for home.
She has a heart for next month.
Yes, heart for.
Probably a bunny for April.
I think.
I have kind of the same thing. So.
Yeah, I think, and then May's flower.
Yeah.
March is a St. Patty's Day. June sun. July is a star flag star. August is.
Beach chair or something around.
Sunglasses, I think.
Oh, that's cute.
I think it's like sunglasses.
That's cute. Is that in your basement?
That's actually right in our living room, in like a corner where our library is, kind of thing. We're in a small condo. It works out great. No, I'm good. Waiting for the market to come.
Like, I'm gonna be in Florida. I'm leaving Wednesday. I won't be able to go Wednesday.
Okay, so typically within 24 hours of us doing the course, we post them.
Okay.
So they'll be online. Yeah, for sure. And in fact, like we live stream these every day. So these are right now we're also live streaming. So you could bring, I mean, your trip, your vacation, you do you, but you could bring it with you and actually go through. Sandy's teaching Wednesday. We switched them. Mario picture. Yes, Facebook Live. All right, folks, we got 60 seconds. Thank you.
Oh, it's like all
Any add-ons?
That's how
Didn't sign up. Hopefully it'll line up. Did you get the info? I left it.
Okay, we're going to start in 30 seconds. So the rest of today, I'm excited because the rest of today is going to be around your big why, what drives you every day, and then your financial goals. So you actually leave with an understanding of how many transactions you're going to need to do to hit the goals. So I'm excited for that aspect of it. So I'm just going to get started. Here's how, this is what so let's go back. Does anyone here think that I'm recruited by competitors? Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. I know everyone in this room is. I know everyone in here. So here's, if somebody has been with Keller less than a few months, the recruiting calls will start. I promise you, and basically what our competitors do is they look at anyone that joins us, just so you know, I'm just future pacing your expectations. They know that we train you well. They know that we have a collaborative environment. They know that we take the time to teach this. So after about 3 months, because they don't want to take the time to teach you, which is true, they're going to start recruiting you and offer you everything under the sun. You know, we're better at this, we're better at that. Higher. Keller Williams is super expensive. We're going to talk today about how it's not. You'll see. So anyways, in the same breath, and Sean, this will happen to him as well, it hasn't already started, will be recruited. EXP offered me $350,000 salary with stock in this team company thing. And I was like, okay, and I caught them in a lie. But here's my point. You're gonna get recruited. What I wanna focus on is why stay with Keller Williams. Here's why I stay with Keller Williams. Very simple, it's two things. I have never been with an organization or a company that has helped me in so many different ways. And the golden nugget on that, and the way I package that to people now, is I don't look for what I get, I look for what I'm going to become. I'm a better man today, business owner, husband, than I was even a year ago. And the second reason is because I heard Gary Keller say on stage 3 years ago something that has never left my mind. The way he approaches life is as such. He's a spiritual being having a physical experience. And he went on to say that if you think that we are just physical beings that have like emotions, you're doing it wrong. And that really resonated with me. And I don't want to get all spiritual today. I do have a faith. Keller Williams' core beliefs is God, family, then business. But what I do want to say is that part of this journey through this class and through this business is about who you're going to become. Allow yourself to have that experience. Allow yourself to feel your soul stir. Does that make sense? Because I haven't found a company that has matched that yet. And I know some of you are like, whoa, you just went 0 to 60, but it's important. Because there's going to be days you don't want to leave, Jen. There's going to be days you don't want to come in the office. There's going to be days that your broker pisses you off. It's going to happen. But at the end of the day, if you are in tune with your big why and the reason you're getting up every day, nothing can get you off track. Nothing. Okay? So, as we move through the rest of this course, here's what you're going to accomplish. We're going to have a conversation around your big why and what drives you. We're going to have a financial goal conversation. And in the last 30 minutes or so, we're going to talk about the activities and the time block schedule you need to have to thrive in this industry. Does that sound like a good plan? And I have some resources. Who was supposed to remind me that we're going to be sending it? So, from pages 14 to 17, a couple of things to kind of just think about. First off, getting the most out of this experience. You have the prisoner, the vacationer, and then you have the prisoner, vacationer, and learner. Explorer, learner, yeah. The prisoner has to be here. The vacationer would rather be here than lead generating. And the explorer wants to learn. You can find the explorer because they're the person with like a microphone, 3 recorders, they have like 4 highlighters and 3 pens. I love the explorer. That's what I'm. The vacationer, you might as well just not come back to session 2. I'm going to be honest. Because there's pair work that we'll be doing moving forward. And if you're just here to coast and not do the work, you're not going to get anything out of this. And you may detract from somebody else. And that's the one thing I learned. And then lastly, the prisoner. Even if you had to show up today, maybe somebody on your team told you to be here, or maybe my mom told me to be here, not looking at anybody, but the key is, even if you were told to be here, couldn't you choose to be an explorer now? Maybe something in the last 90 minutes was said and you were like, I still don't like John or Sean. I don't trust either of those shit together. But I kind of like what they said with that one thing, beliefs. Dick Dillingham is a great mentor and friend of mine, and he teaches FSO. I write this name down, Dick Dillingham. He teaches FSO in Austin, Texas, which stands for Franchise Systems Orientation. And he says it best. At the end of the class, he says what makes him so happy is when a prisoner walks up to him and can't even look him in the eye and goes, yeah, so I, so made me come here, but that one thing you said was kind of cool. I might, try it. And Dick says, he teaches classes of 300 plus, and he says he gets about 10 to 15 people every class that at the end of the class come up to him and do it. So, if any of you were a prisoner, or a vacationer, I would entertain the notion for you to maybe be an explorer. Try it. Explorers are initiatives. Yes, sir.
What does FSO stand for?
Franchise Systems Orientation. So how the whole franchising of Keller Williams works. Any of you can attend. Anyone can attend. It's not just for leadership or owners or brokers. Anybody can go. Franchise Systems Orientation. We're going to talk about actionable steps for you to thrive in your business, what you need to be doing to thrive in your business. If you flip the page, you can see that, where it talks about the expectations of thriving in real estate and taking the steps that you need to be taking in order to succeed. And so some of this will be writing note cards. Some of this will be reviewing properties. There's many other things that you'll be doing, and instructors will set those expectations with you because there's homework between each class. The expectations is that you disconnect to connect, that you're on time. If you are going to miss a course, before today ends, you're actually going to pair up with a partner so you can reach out to that partner about what you maybe missed. And then within 24 hours or less, everything streamed today will be uploaded to the Ignite training page, and we live stream this class in real time. So this is on Facebook Live right now. So if you want to follow along and you just can't be here for that day, that's a great resource and opportunity. However, you must be present to win. And what I mean by that is, I know it's easier to stay in the pajamas and sip your coffee, but there's something to be said about showing up in business attire, ready to roll with your partner in a class setting. And so if you can be here, please be here. It really makes a difference over the next 4 weeks. Good? Some of the things you'll be sent out as part of your homework today, we're not going to take valuable. I give you some bonus material in the class. I don't know if you guys know that, but like there's extra stuff. Golden nuggets, for example. So instead of watching an 8.5-minute video here, I fill that with other stuff because you can watch it. Now you've got to commit to watching. If you don't watch it, I won't be an instructor ever again. They'll fire me. So I'm serious. You got to watch it. So you're going to be getting an email by the end of today, end of business today. Actually, probably sooner. Actually, I'm going to tell you by end of business because you under promise, over deliver, right? Look. And in that email are helpful handouts and resources and homework activities. One of the things is a video from Gary Keller himself about what a mega agent should be doing. And it's less than 10 minutes, and I ask that you watch it. You're going to take, now here's something that, have you ever heard the statement, you can't unstretch a stretched rubber band? So like once you take a rubber band and stretch it, you can't like unstretch it. Like you're not going to put that same rubber band around an asparagus bunch because it's stretched. That's what we're doing right now. We're stretching your thinking. We're stretching your approach. So you're going to leave today going, dang it, I feel uncomfortable a little bit. Dang it, what's going on here? I feel different. So I just ask that you commit to the stretching. And you watch some of the videos and resources we're sending you because they're proven. They're proven. You can flip to page 19 for me, please. So this is the only time I share this story, is in Ignite 1. So I share it, well last year I shared it 5 times. This year I'll probably share it once. Unless Sean invites me back to share this part. It's totally his call. So for those who have heard this before, I apologize and I get it. But it ties into the big why. So I remember walking into the classroom and seeing his chair flipped upside down on his desk. And I remember saying to myself, well, that's weird because we were just talking last night, and if he's not at school today, he can't go to the homecoming dance this weekend. And like high school, people like to go to the homecoming dance, right? The football game and the dance. So I'm like, that's kind of weird. So class starts and his desk chair is still up. So about 20 minutes into class, there's a knock at the door. My teacher steps out, and as the door clicks shut, the classroom of course erupts into joking and throwing papers and pencils and stuff. About 3 or 4 minutes go by, and Mrs. Dunkbell re-enters the room. And she's standing there, and she doesn't quiet us down or yell at us like she normally does. Like, quiet down, right? No, just sits there. And one by one, every student in that room, including myself, felt a presence. And we quieted down. Finally, someone said, Mrs. Dunkel, what's wrong? And she says, well, kids, Ken was in a car accident last night, and he's currently at Beaumont, and they've done one brain scan. There's no activity. He's on life support. And they're looking at all options right now, from CAT scans to MRIs, to see if there's any semblance of activity to be found. So I don't know what to do. And for the rest of that day, it was just this weird feeling, just like you have right now. And through the day, I started telling myself a narrative that Ken would be okay. He may not be perfect. He may be handicapped or disabled. He may mentally not be all there, but he would survive. And I started having these selfish desires that he would live, because Ken was my best friend. Ken and I played sports together and had sleepovers and all that good stuff. And so at the end of the day, we were called into the auditorium, and the principal was standing at the front of the room, and I went to a religious high school. And he said, I have good news and bad news. And so selfishly, again, I said, yes, okay, great. He's going to be hurt, but here. And he says, the good news is that Ken's in a better place. He's in heaven. The bad news is he's no longer with us yet. I don't know what was said after that. I wept. And the pain I felt was, I've never felt that sense. Hours turned to days, days to weeks, weeks to months, and my anger started to come out. And why? I didn't understand it. Ken was hit by an off-duty fireman. His brother was driving. His brother has PTSD to this day. The off-duty fireman pulled Ken out of the car and tried to resuscitate him on the side. Mr. Dembeck, my teacher, pulled me aside and said, see me after class, and I did. So I distinctly remember him saying, come see me after school. And I remember the bell ringing and everybody leaving, the max exodus that is high school at 2:10. And I remember pushing past people, and it had been about 90 days. And I entered his classroom, and he said, shut the door, and I did. And he said, sit, and I did. And for the next 90 minutes, he listened. And at the end of that 90 minutes, he said, you are not on track to go to college, man. You are way too bright, way too intellectual to not go to college. You have a choice to make. And yes, you're in pain with Ken. But would he be proud of what you're doing? Would he be proud of your anger and depression and anxiety? Would he be proud of your victim behavior? Over the next several months, Mr. Dembeck and I met a few times. I ended up going away to school. First year at college, I met this girl named Sarah. Beautiful girl. I had a crush on her. Lived on my floor. And she would always pop in, right? She always made you feel so comfortable, right? And we were just friends. I wanted maybe to date, but she didn't. It's fine. You get used to rejection. And all of a sudden, she stopped coming around. And I'm at the gym with my buddy, and he said, did you hear what happened to Sarah's mom? I'm like, no. And I felt like a terrible friend because I hadn't checked in proactively with Sarah. She had always come by around and whatever, hung out in the lobby. So I showered first after the gym, and then I went to her dorm, and I was knocking, and I could hear her in there crying. And she finally let me in, and I just listened. The gift that Mr. Dembeck had given me a year and a half prior, I was able to then pay it forward and give to her. And get her into professional help because her mom had some severe health issues and complications. And she had fallen into depression and anxiety, the same anger that I had felt. My big why, folks, is helping people hit their peak personal and professional selves. That's why I'm a coach. That's why I'm a trainer. That's why I'm a speaker. And I had a limiting belief that I could only do that in education education, and that's why I got my master's in educational leadership with a focus on business administration. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, I'm only going to make 40 grand a year for the rest of my life. That ain't going to work. And I jumped. A golden nugget to write down to help you find your big why is called Jump by Steve Harvey. How many people know that in between takes of Family Feud, Steve Harvey does motivational speaking? Jump by Steve Harvey is the reason I'm sitting in front of you today. Jump is about every successful person at some time or another in their life has jumped, has taken that leap of faith. To wrap up my personal big why, peak in professional self, what does that mean? I can give you the laser focused answer. By the time I'm 40, I've opened up a nonprofit or partnered with one in existence, and I train youth from the ages of 14 to 24 on the power of education, the power of setting goals and achieving them, and the power of home ownership. Do you think everything I'm doing today leads to that moment? If I was only making 80 grand a year, which is comfortable for some people, do you think I could afford to open a non-for-profit? No. So when I make more money and make more income and open up another business, it's not about John. It hasn't been about John in about 8 years. It's about all the lives I know I can impact. Wednesday, I launch a podcast. I record from 4:30 to 7:30. Getting a haircut today, don't worry. That was a joke, you can laugh, thank you, Rick. My point is this. Are you getting super crystal clear on your purpose? Do you understand your big why? What stirs your soul? For me, it was Ken and Sarah and the experiences I went through. It was my alcoholic mother. It's about helping people reach their peak in professional selves. Peak in personal professional selves, right? What's your big why? Some of you may say, I want to finally make over 100 grand a year. I want to be able to send my grandchildren to school, to college. I want to see X happen. So, there are some focusing questions for you around your soul stirring and achieving your big why. But before we do that, I want you to read where it says big future. Does everyone see that? If you're going to need to flip the page, you need to see big future. What page is that on in your book? It's different than mine. 20. Please flip to page 20, and I want you to write the date a year from today down. Right at the top. Write the date a year from today down. Right at the top. Top agents can articulate their big why and will be able to as well. A big why is what keeps them going when they're tired, they're bored, they're disappointed. It's the spark that ignites their every day. Your big why might be to have financial success tied directly to your efforts instead of a salary, controlled by the opinions of a boss, to build your own business, to achieve a bigger life through your business. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to popcorn one at a time. When you, 12 months from today, you're able to do the following. So who would like to kick off with your business is thriving?
Your business is thriving and your life is everything you dream.
Your customers rave about the experience and value you provide and think of you when they have a real estate.
Your family and friends are so proud of your success and are consistently referring business your way.
You are helping others live their dream of owning a home because you are focused on helping them get what they desire.
You are building the foundation and momentum for your entire career in gaining relationships and experience and the income you desire.
You're the top agent in your market center or rookie of the year if you're new.
You're poised to hire a part-time assistant to handle your 80% while you take care of the 20% that grows your business.
You're on the path to build a career worth having, a business worth owning, and a life worth living.
And I would add to that, because this has not been tweaked yet, experiences worth giving, legacies worth leaving. Experiences worth giving, legacies worth leaving. if you flip the page, we're going to take 7 minutes, and you're going to write down answers to the following questions on that next page for your big why. And here's what I would say. 7 minutes. If you have already done this previously, I encourage you to look back on what you wrote before and see how things have shifted or changed or even come to fruition for you. See if the big why has changed in your world at all. If you haven't done this before, I really encourage you to go internal and make this happen, okay? So we're going to go for 7 minutes. Any questions on what we're doing? Yes, sir.
What was the second part of experience is worth giving?
Legacy is worth leaving. Legacy is worth leaving. Some of the most common things I hear from, I coach team leaders around the country, and a lot of these team leaders are making 120 to 200 grand a year, right? They're running a massive business. And they're like, well, I'm not motivated because I'm comfortable. I'm making up, 10 to 20 grand a month. And I said, well, great, but if your mom called you needing 50 grand, or they were going to lose the house, could you do it? Well, no. Oh, okay. If your daughter got super sick, could you take care of that? Well, no. Okay. So aren't you, by saying you're comfortable at 120 to 200, aren't you being selfish then? Because you're not thinking of the people around you? And they start to have this aha, like, oh, it's not just about me or my family, it's about everyone around me. Take 6 minutes for me and answer or reflect on some of those questions around your big why. Once you finish those questions, on the very next page are some focusing questions to get you to write the big why. So if you finish that first page, flip to the next. Another about 2 minutes. questions on that first page, and then we can flip to your big why. Homework number 1 will be to complete this big why activity. If you weren't able to in the time allotted in class, you will be using it in future classes. So please ensure that if you want to tweak it, look at it again, add to it, and you do that between now and the end of this week. Okay? You may not specifically get into it in class 2, but you're going to hear instructors talk about it from class to class around, well, what's your purpose of being here? Why are you here? Why did you get into real estate? And you can always lean on your big why if you've taken the time to do it. So I wanted to start that activity for you. Does anyone want to share what their big why is? Or what they came to? Please.
Basically, my kids and my family, I want to be able to help support my family financially, but also be able to be around my kids and watch them grow up and be there for them.
So that balance of being there for your family and your kids, and being able to financially provide. Beautiful. Has that kind of been your big why or one thing for a while? Have you found traction in this career to do that? Cool. Very good. Thank you for sharing. One more person? Please. Bill.
I have experiences that make me and people around me better, both personally and financially. Kind of giving customers and clients, their goals and their dreams, and taking away from it finances and experiences that will make me a better person.
Very cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Here's one thing I want to give you around your big why. Golden nuggets maybe write down. Remember earlier I said, hey, make it a goal to maybe attend, after Ignite, of course, when you have 3 a week, maybe 2 classes a month or a team meeting a month. Here's why. Here's an actionable for you why. If Becca's sitting in a training and the presenter is a single mom or a married woman who has 3 kids and is a $300,000 real estate business, do you think Becca could walk up to her and introduce herself and say, I'd love to earn the right to buy you lunch or a cup of coffee? Do you think if Bill's sitting in a training class with 6 or 7 other people and the instructor talks about how they've helped countless people achieve financial freedom through rental properties, do you think Bill might want to interview that person and introduce and network? Here's the takeaway. The golden nugget is a big brokerage like our own can still be small when you have the small groups. You have 370 agents in this organization. How many people at Ignite today? People come to what they need. The benefit is you get multiple perspectives and diverse approaches, just like in a big church. That's why they have men's studies and women's studies and Bible studies, right? It's the same exact concept and notion. So here's the driving point. Look at your big why and see who's done something similar to that or is doing it that I could learn from. There's your takeaway. There's your action. Deal? Any comments, thoughts, questions on the activity of doing your big why? When's the last time, has anybody done something like this in the last 90 days? 6 months? Year? 3 years? About 6 people raised their hand in 3 years. I'll stop there for a fact. This is something I would encourage you to maybe do quarterly, 4 times a year. Are you still in alignment? Or have we moved into a Japanese film where the lips don't match the dialogue? It's enough. He approaches exactly the lips. And when we talk about balance, it's called counterbalancing. And the one thing is a great resource to get back on track. Flip to 23 for me. First, I want to start with a commission example for you. So, average sales price in our area, Keller Williams Lakeside, is $200,000. We actually were at $212,000 last year. We sling Roseville, East Point properties for $60,000, $80,000, right? Investment properties, absolutely, all day. We have, our largest sale last year was $3.4 million. Fun fact, we sold over 20 homes over $1 million. But again, when that marketing piece will be coming out at the end of this month for you to update your presentation. Anyways, just in case, I don't want to assume anything, but real quick, if I have a sales price of $200,000, a commission breakdown of that of 3% is what you've earned on that sale. So if the listing's for 6%, what happens typically is the listing agent keeps 3% of the commission, and the buyer agent who brings a buyer to the transaction gets the other 3%. So 6% divvied up 3. So 3% on one side of that transaction from a sale is $6,000 in commission. Does everyone understand how we factor commission, right? This is the one part realtors get. They're like, I can do 3% of anything. 100, 200, 300, 400, right? They just know 3%. And that's funny to me in a good way. So 3%. So that's just kind of the workflow that we're going to be using today for our goals. So if you can for me, flip to the next page, knowing your personal commission. So here, and I think that would be on page 24. On 24, if you're a brand new agent that has never sold, and you live in Clinton Township, and a lot of your contacts live in Sterling Heights, Clinton Township, maybe Utica, then you may want to think about the average sales price in that area and use that. Rather, if I'm commuting from Lake Orion or Rochester, or maybe Northern Shelby, Macomb, that's a different price point. So my point is this. You are able to use the price point that you feel is an accurate reflection of your business. Does that make sense? I'll repeat that. You're able to use an accurate sales price for what will reflect your business. If you're not sure today, which is fine, just use $200,000. But if you've been slinging some deals, you've been closing some transactions, what's a tool that you can use to look up your average sales price that KW provides for free? Not all at once.
I go to my reports.
My reports, what's the tool called?
See, I go into EH and just go into
MYT stands for MYT. So write this down. Multi-year trend. Multi-year trend. That's right. Good job, Luke. That's exactly where you go, though, under report. So each of you, when you log into your KW, you know where your picture's there? It says reports. You can click on reports, and then it says multi-year trend. And you can actually look at not only how the brokerage is doing, but your own personal business. Go ahead.
Can you see it? I believe you can see it also on the MLS if you go to the dashboard.
You can, but this report has 44 metrics to help you track. It removes leases for you. It looks at buy side versus list side versus sales price versus contracts. So I could look at your report and in 3 minutes give you your biggest 3 weaknesses. I can't do that looking at HomeSnap or my real source. I can get an idea of how much you've sold and all. That's good. This report, for example, let's say you took 25 listings and you only sold 8. We have a price issue. You're writing a lot of contracts, you're not selling them. Why? You're overpriced. So let's talk about the tactics in which we can price reduce. For example, you can look at, okay, listings taken volume to listings sold volume. I can divide the two out and say, wow, you have a 94% listings taken to sold ratio, meaning 94% of the properties you take sell at or above what you took them for. That might be something good to know. That only 6% of the time you don't get what the seller wants. It's another way to spin it, right? So this tool is a game changer. Multi-year trend. Multi-year trend. I talked to agents who joined. I just had an agent join us on Friday. She was with Real Living Key for 22 years. She was in the industry over 22 years, with Real Living Key the last decade. And she's already blown away with the level of business training we're getting. Business. She thought Real Living Key was great, and they're a good firm, but we're teaching. She was blown away. 20 plus years in the business. Isn't that cool? So multi-year trend report, great tool for you. She's gonna thrive here, so, yeah, thanks. Sean, Doug, myself, Sandy, it was a tag team effort for 2 years.
Believe it.
And yeah, so, thank you.
Well done.
Okay, so questions on that, like how you would, the importance of that, understanding that your commission might be different. Bless you. Flip the page for me to page 25. Page 25 around transactions. So here's, I just want you to look at your page. Don't write any numbers or anything like this, just look at your page. So here's what you got. A is your net gross commission income goal. Gross commission income goal. So this would be before taxes, before expenses, right? So what's your gross goal you want to set? Your net GCI is what that's called. Not your net. Your net GCI. Okay. B would be your cap plus your royalty. Everybody's royalty in Keller Williams, no matter where you are in the world, is $3,000. So in line B, you can write your cap in plus $3,000. Now people's caps are different if they're on a team versus solo versus a team lead. But you can write your, on line B, you take $3,000 plus your cap, and that's called your cost of sale. I want you to write that next to B. That's your golden nugget. Cost of sale. Cost of sale, or cost of goods sold is another way to write that. Can anyone tell me the difference between an expense and a cost of sale? Expense and cost of sale. What's the difference?
Isn't one like repetitive and the other one can change?
They both could change. They both could be repetitive.
Okay.
But we're thinking. I like it. One's payable at time of sale. That's exactly right. Here's how you think about it. An expense happens regardless. A cost of sale, you have the cost when you do what? Make a sale. So your cap at Keller Williams is a cost of sale. So if somebody's offering you a lower cap, for example, and you haven't capped, it's irrelevant. Whereas an expense would be just a monthly, weekly, daily expense that hits, no matter if you sell or not. Does that make sense? So I want to point out that line B is cost of sale. You only pay it when you perform. When you win, we win. Or no deal. Okay. C is very simple. It's A plus B equals C. C is simple. It's A plus B equals C. So if this is 100 grand and this is 20 grand, this would be 120 grand. Life hack, if C is lower than A and B, you're doing it wrong. All right. It's a joke too, but that's all right. We're plugging along. We just said our average commission $6,000, right? So if we're using this example here, 200,000, 3%, $6,000. So D $6,000. So to find out how many transactions I need to hit, I just simply take C and I divide it by D. I take C and I divide it by D and I get E. E should be lower than C and D. Should be a number. So if you flip the page, everyone, if you're using the $6,000 commission amount, can fill in line D for you. You can write 6,000 in line D. If you're above that or lower than that, you can adjust accordingly. If you're brand new and want to be more conservative, put $4,500 in there. If you have a lower price point or you're brand new and you're not really sure, I'd rather you underestimate in terms of how much you're going to make per deal and do more deals, because at the end of the day, if your sale price is higher, you just make more money. Make sense? So if you're newer, feel free to go between $4,500 and $5,000. But again, average sales price here is $6,000 commission from a sale. Okay. A is your net goal. What do you want to make? Forget about your cap right now. What do you want to make? What do you want to see that went into your bank account as revenue by 12/31/20? By the end of this year, how much revenue, how much gross income did you want to see come in from your real estate sales? That's what line A is. Was it 60 grand? Is it 200 grand? Is it 500? I can't set that for you. But we can think back to our big why of how much we need to make to fund my big why, right? To fund that life by design. Any questions on how you get to A? All right, who's got an A goal they want to share? Please.
60,000.
60,000, so 5 a month. Who else has an A goal they want to share?
I just noticed that I hit my goal this year because I put my goal for last year.
You both did. How long have you been in the business?
2.5 years, not full time, 2.5, but 2.5.
14 months.
That's like when a 3-year-old says, 3 years and 5 months.
14 months.
No, that's good. So, real quick, so Val ran, so I brought Val in. Did I bring you in? We met, I know, but I don't.
We talked, and then you went in your honeymoon.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know we
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Valerie sold with residual rate. You have an agreement.
Yep.
Okay. But she owned a massage business for 15 years in Rochester and had this book of business. And when she came to us, she knew people at different firms and knew different people. And in fact, the people that brought her here, when their whole plan the whole time was to go to that's a whole nother story. Anyways, she was like, I don't know, basically to summarize 2.5 years, she's like, how do I go from here to here and succeed? There's the short version. And it's what I've been saying all day, right? It's everything we've been talking about. And it's obviously brokerage support and mentoring, that too. And so 2.5 years in, did you hear what she just said? She took this last year and she hit her goal. What was your goal last year? Do you mind sharing?
60,000, the GCI,
And do you mind sharing?
67.
Okay, there we go. So we hit the goal. So my point is, congratulations, that's awesome. First year, 14 months. What was the goal you set?
It was 50,000, 13.5 transactions. I did 13 transactions, 2 of which were my own, but if I would have added all those, it would have been like 75,000.
Does this work? Yeah. Does it work? So if I were brand new and I'm nervous, I might be like, hey, they seem kind of nice. How'd you do it? I mean, don't berate them, but I know for a fact that they would take the time to answer a message on Facebook or at a future team meeting, answer that, okay? This is my point. It works. Good job, both of you. And there's several other people I could highlight in here, but for time's sake, it just naturally that worked. Does that make sense? So that goal, set a realistic goal of what you want to think. And if some of you are like, it's hard for me to set a big annual goal, think of it, I always think of things monthly. Like, okay, if my bills are $3,000 a month, I want to make 5 or 10 or 50, whatever, right? But I think of it monthly, and then I just times it by 12. And that's how I think about annual goals. Okay? So then B is your cap plus royalty. You can fill that in. Your cap plus royalty. Add A and B together, which will give you C. Is everyone with me? Does everyone have C? We have the commission. So now we're at E. So do C divided by D. C divided by D. How many transactions, I want to hear people share this, do you have to do to hit your goal? So to hit 60, did you do that yet?
I'm close up. 13,
so 14 deals. Is that doable?
Yes.
Just over 1 a month. You're going to have one in January? Okay. Well, do you have an appointment set yet? Today's your first day, so.
It's my first day. I have 0%.
Okay. My point is, you probably got to do 14 in about 9 months. That's how you got to break that down. And in fact, I would encourage all of you, get a number for E. Get a number for E, and then break that down over 9 or 10 months, not 12. I promise you, and I'm not going to say who, but there's someone in here who every year does this, probably about 50 agents through the year come to me, and this is what they say, ready? 50 agents minimum, probably more. I just had $1 million fall apart. I just lost up to 3 transactions, John. And trust me, first off, I'm not joking, that sucks. But we know today, on January 6th, that's going to happen. Yes or yes?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I have had agents, I had a team that pre-signed to join us. And at the last minute, their broker gave 3 years no cash. Did that team join us? Nope. 3 years. I mean, we decimated the company. I don't want to do that to anybody, but I'm just saying, do you see? So even when you think it's a sure bet and you're locked and loaded, things happen. 20% of what you set as a goal will not close. Here's 3 hacks to help you hit that goal. Ready? Plan for 20% not to close, right off the bat. So if I have 10 deals, 2 of them won't close. So if I need to close 10, I should probably try for 12. That's the first hack. 20% minimum. It might even be higher, but 20% is good. Next, plan out your year over 9 months, not 12. 9 months, not 12. People get sick. People take vacations. Your buyers, you might be like, well, I'm Mr. Robot Man. I never get sick or take vacations. Guess what? Your sellers and buyers do. Plan for 9 or 10 months. A great book on that is called The 12-Week Year. A great book or resource around time management with that called The 12-Week Year. 12-week year. And then the last hack around that, or the last thing to think about, I can't remember it now. It just gone. I mean, it was there. It was really good. Like, it was really helpful, and it was probably going to help you guys have a great year. Sorry. So if I think of it, I'm not even joking. I'm like, I never miss a beat usually. But Sean, do you have anything?
I don't have it.
All right. No. It was that. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so do those 2 things, and there's a good chance you'll hit your goal.
Matt, I thought the third one.
I know. It will come to me. I'll think of it. Does that make sense? You look at that transactions, and then here's the thing. So what are some transactions for the year? Just popcorn amount. How many you got to do? 51, 16 and a half, so 17. No halves. 17. 9. 22. 16. 16. 17. Tony?
Still figuring.
Okay. 17. Okay, here's my point. That's with those transactions, okay? With those transactions. Chunk that down over 12 months. No, 9 months. So take that number and divide it by 9. Do it right now. I'm telling you, this will help you. Do it by 9. Then you're going to have another number. It'll be smaller than the one you just told me. Take that number, which is over 9 months, how many you need to do, divide that by 36. Because there's 4 weeks in a month. 9 times 4 is 36. You with me? So now you know exactly what you have to do every week for 36 weeks. Instead of looking at it like this long marathon, it's like chunking down a marathon to 26 1 miles. So if, for example, what's your number, Becca, when you do that? What was your 12-month number? What was your transaction number for the year? 17. 17. What's that over 9 months? 1.88, which is roughly 2. Okay, 18. Everyone with me? So 18 is her goal. I just raised her goal for her. She's thankful. It's an extra $2,000. How many weeks are in 9 months? That's right. So I need to do 18 over 36 weeks. Is that correct? So how many every 2 weeks? So 0.5 a week, or 1 every 2 weeks. Yeah. Does that make sense? For her to hit her goal, every 2 weeks she needs to have a closing. In 9 months, I just gave her 3 months off. So let me ask you this. What do you have closing in the next month? 0. So now this is called, is the goal movable? No, the goal's not movable. This is a golden nugget. Goals are immovable. Actions can change. Goals are immovable. If it's really your goal, you're not going to change the goal. Yeah, we want to make it to the moon. Well, that's really hard, so we're just going to, fly a jet. No, the goal is the moon. Every second between takeoff and moon landing There are thousands of tiny shifts in thrust and propulsion and the different ways that gases are emitted as the shuttle does what it needs to do. Thousands a second. A second. So she has nothing closing in the next month. She has two options. What are the two options? One, it can be one of the 3 months she already took off. Your already application didn't even know it. And you're using it here. Look at that. Beautiful Shelby Township, Michigan. Or she says, I'm doubling down. I'm not wasting one of my months now, and I'm going to be focused and committed to changing my activities over the next 8 months. So instead of 2 or 1 every 2 weeks, it might be 2.2. Or she could say, okay, 18 is the number, right? I'm taking April off. There's one of her months. So if she has 4 closed by April 1, that means she'll have May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, 8 more months to close how many more deals? 14 more deals. And then she can decide then, do I want to work all 8 months or take the 2 months off I promised myself at the start of the year? It's called front or future pacing. Front or future pacing. Here's the last thing I want you to do. We're going to come over here, bell curve it, Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. What is that? Those are the quarters in a year, that's right. Your goal is up top. Through the first quarter, you should be 15% through your goal. This is huge. I can't tell you how many people are in my office in March and they go, I'm not 25% through my goal. I want to do 12, I've only closed 2, I'm a failure. And I look at them and I say, you're right where you need to be. In the first quarter, because of seasonality, you're only going to close 15% of your goal. So after Q1, here's what you want to look at. On March 31st, can you close 15% of your goal by March 31st? That's your focusing question. Can I close 15% of my goal by March 31st? This is what we're working 12 months, right? That averages out. What do you think quarter 2 is? 25%. That's exactly right. So halfway through the year, how much through your goal should you be? 40. You should be 40% through your goal by July 1st. A lot of people have not heard that before. But here's the key. Your listings or future activity should be 60% of goal. So your lagging, which is closed, is 40%, and your 60% of goal on future, which would be listings or new buyers. You with me? That's the highest I'm going to take that conversation today. I'll repeat it slower. By July 1st, through 2 quarters, you should be 40% through your closed goal, and you should be 60% through your listings or future business goal. There are other classes we teach on how to set listing goals. Are you with me? Okay. What do you think the next is? 35. That's why quarter 3, you may say, well, the spring market's the craziest time. Why would again, it's the results showing up. What you close in April, May, June, you're paid out in July, August, September, before the back to school rush and what we call the fall stall. Are you with me? And could this be 28 and this be 32? Yeah, of course. I'm giving you guesstimates. The biggest takeaway is I don't want you to say after end of quarter 1, I'm only 10% or 15% of goal. Because if you think you need to be 25, 25, 25, 25, and you're only at 10, your gap's not 15%, it's 5. You're only 5% behind your goal. That's doable, isn't it? Instead of 15% behind. So take us home, what was the last quarter here?
25.
That's how business traditionally works in real estate, with seasonality. So if I have 12 as my goal, yes, between October, November, December, I should close 4 homes. December, record month for Keller Williams Lakeside. 200, you guys closed, just wrap your head around this. Just in December, you closed 280 deals. In December. Third highest for the year. That's unbelievable. It's because of you. So, that's a little, again, this is the bonus stuff because we didn't watch the video. We're going to watch it as homework. But did anyone know this? Somewhat. Because you feel it, right? Your bank account feels it, your business feels it. But now you know rough numbers. You might be off by 5% either way in different quarters. But here's the takeaway. Now you can understand, hey, am I 15% of goal through quarter 1? Am I 40% of goal through quarter 2? Am I on track to do another 35? Am I on track to have a big third quarter? Listen, there's, when do they go to Italy and Sicily every year? Okay, so guess what? Quarter 3 for the Donna team may not be 35% of their annual goal, right? It might be if Colo stays back and does all the work. But my point is, seasonality is real. And so you need to take a hard look at your business and your approach, what type of business you're running, and what commitment you have. The 9 months, you might take a full quarter off. If you only work 9 months, you might take 3 months off in a row, right? Some people do that. Well, now I just have to take that 25% off and split it. Make sense? Question on that?
When does quarter 3 end? I know it's in the fall, but what month?
So October 1st.
October.
So then October, November, December.
Okay. October 1st again.
So January through March, April through June, July through September, October through December. Okay. Last little hack on that. Instead of looking at 5 days a week or 7 days a week or 9 to 5 or any of this crap that humans put in place, which is how we can understand and conceptualize time, I look at it as sprints. So I set a goal just as an awareness. February 14th is what day? No, it's the day we leave for family reunion. It's also Valentine's Day. So Haley and I started a tradition 3 years ago. We celebrated on the 13th. What we do? Less lines at the restaurant. I'm just saying, you might want to think about it. It's back February 13th. Anyway, so every February 13th we do this. So I set a goal, New Year's, January 1st to February 13th, of how many business days I'm going to work, how many agents I'm going to hire, how many cappers I'm going to create, and then a couple other goals I have with the team. Okay? From the 1st to the 13th. On average, the last 3 years, guess how many days I've worked from the 1st to the 13th? So the first thing you might want to know is how many days that would be 44. So how many days out of 44 do you think I worked? 31. Less.
25.
26 days. That's my average. 26 days. Let me paraphrase that. On Lakeside, I run 4 businesses. So, but 26 for Lakeside. Okay. So out of the 26 days, if my goal is to hire 20 agents, I can break that down to how many. If I'm in, what do I got to do? How many appointments? How many agents? How many cappers? Right? So I encourage you to think about 2020 as a series of sprints. How I break it down is February 1st to the 13th, then Valentine's Day to when March Madness starts. Again, it's just how my brain. March Madness to Tax Day, April 15th. April 15th to Memorial Day. Memorial Day to 4th of July. 4th of July to Labor Day. Labor Day to Halloween. It's my longest stretch. That sucks. Halloween to Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving to Christmas, and then I have time off in between Christmas and New Year. Okay? That's how I coach, train, and teach people how to think. And I look at those 10 stretches, because it's 10, and I ask, how can I win in this stretch? That way, if I have one bad loss and I still go 9-1, I win. So I chunk down quarters to I'm crazy. But at some point, successful people are crazy, right? I think. I don't know. Anyway, talk too much to Uber drivers. Questions over, I just like to tease them. Questions over anything we covered? We've got 34 minutes left. Has this been a worthwhile piece of your day, or is this like, dude, what is the point?
Worthwhile.
It's good, worthwhile?
It's not a question, but if you look at your multi-year trends, you can get an idea of what you've been doing, which would also help me and you guys look at what you need to do for this year to change that. But again, it all goes back into looking at your reports and your production activities and things of that nature.
It's funny. Any of the months on your multi-year trend where you put a 0 in closed units, I know you weren't lead generating 60 to 90 days early. Like literally, if I sit down with somebody in a coaching conversation and I say, okay, you had 4 months where you didn't close something last year, 8 months where you did, and you did $3 million in sales, what would it look like? What's your average sales price? 200 grand. Okay, what would it look like if you closed 1 home in those 0 months? You would add how much in volume? And they said, well, 1 home times 4 months at 200, that's 800,000 in volume. How much more in income would that be? Because you cap, right? Yeah, it's 100%. Okay, so 800,000 at 3% is $24,000. You could have put 24 more grand in your pocket if you just sold 1 home in your 0 months. So what were you doing 60 days before the 0? I went on vacation, I was hospitalized, I was lazy, holiday. So here's the trick. Add 4 deals either in your non-zeros if you don't want to work those months, or just add 1 deal to your 0 month. And if you cap, it's an immediate 100% pay raise. Does that make sense? Make it a goal to take 1 listing a month. Even if only half of them close, that's 6 closings right there. You're going to attract 2 buyers. That's another 12 buyers you're working with. Do you see how that works? When people aren't hitting their goals, it can't be the training here. It can't be the lack of support. What is it? It's simply what I have found after 4 years of talking to people, doing it or not. That's what it boils down to, is doing it or not. So if I were a newer agent here, in the business less than 5 years, I'd probably look around at the veterans sitting in the room and go, how have you been doing this 20 or 30 years? What have you learned? What would you have done differently?
I have a question related to Gary Keller's book, which I'm reading now.
Which book?
Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
It's a good book.
He has a system in there. And he says, I want to tell you 2 things. The real estate industry is very hard, but it's also very easy. And by easy, he means connect with people, have relationships, turn leads into listings, and you get commission. So my question is, well, why do 80% of people fail? Why don't they just do what Gary Keller says do?
So humans psychologically like to be comfortable. Okay. I think a lot of people try real estate and they don't realize that it actually tries you. I think there's some personality reasonings behind it. I really believe, you want to know the 5 things you should do every day in your business to succeed in real estate? Here they are. Lead generate, lead follow up, go on appointments, write and negotiate contracts, practice, practice, practice. We're talking about practice, not a game, practice. Lead gen, lead follow-up, go on appointments, write and negotiate contracts, practice. Guess which one most agents don't do? Yeah, they don't practice. And when you're brand new, guess what you have the most time to do? Lead gen and practice.
What do you mean by practice? You mean find a partner, a role play?
Yes. Role play 5 days a week with 5 different people.
How long? A day?
15 minutes.
15 minutes?
8:45 to 9 o'clock, and then hop on the phone.
There's a key distinction too between something being simple and something being easy.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a
Because it's simple, not easy. It's simple, not easy. It's very simple, but it ain't easy to do. The most depressing day in the United States every year is between January 21st and 26th. Want to know why? I know, it's coming up. I'm giving you a heads up. It's 3 weeks from today. Do you know why, though? And this is a fact. I'm not joking around. This is January 21st to 26th. It's in that 5-day range. Why?
Lunar cycle?
No. People have thrown in their towel on the resolutions already. Credit card bills come from the holiday. People already think they can't hit the goals they set financially after 3 weeks into the year. Those are the 3 main reasons. They've given up resolutions. They aren't seeing a path to hit their goals because they think they should be 1/12 of the way there already. But the holiday bill coming into that stretch is coming up. Okay? I don't know. I mean, I felt like that was applicable. You're going to be tested time and time again through 2020. The goal is to stay committed because the goal is immovable. The actions are. Good. Flip to, I believe it's page 29, which has a funnel. So now we're going to get into some activity and homework and different things. So on the funnel, every day you don't lead generate, 90 days later you can expect no money. So that is like literally it's that simple. Now when I say lead generate, what do you think of? Everyone always starts with calling. Why do you do that? You just told me 42 minutes ago, 44 minutes ago, you hated calling. And the first thing that you think of when I say lead generate is calling.
I know.
So,
well, you can do FaceTime.
Okay, here we go.
You can do
So,
FaceTime, you can do Instagram, you can just talk to people, you can hand out your cards, you can talk to people.
Here
That
we
stuff
go.
I don't mind.
So here's how I want you to think of lead generate.
Yeah.
So on 29, good job, Holly. On that funnel, I want you to write this. A two-way conversation. I don't care if somebody goes to tell you to go pound sand. Gain permission to talk to them again. So learn the objection handling of this. Oh my goodness. Okay, I heard it. The instructor picks it up. Okay, then it'll be not broken.
Rock on.
We got 9 lines, right?
Thank you, John.
You were right.
I told you. Two-way conversation. So, if I were somebody who had limiting beliefs around calling, I would play to my strengths. So I told you that you want to have 3 sources. Start with go first, which for everybody in this room should be sphere of influence, your database, the people that know you. SOI. They already know you. They might not like you, but they know you. Imagine a script like this, and I'm only getting into the script because we're being recorded, so you can go back and watch this. So with about 30 minutes left, you could watch this part, right? You could door knock your subdivision, for example, and say the following. I'm not going to get into like step back, all that stuff. This is just the script. Hi, I'm John Reich, a local realtor with Keller Williams Lakeside. I'm not soliciting. The reason I'm actually speaking with you today is I don't know about you, but I feel I have a biased lens on our neighborhood. So I'd like to ask you 5 focusing questions to better understand why you live here today and what it could take for you to move so I can better attract buyers to these properties. Are you cool with that? 60 seconds and I'm off your porch. It works. Great. First and foremost, when did you move into the neighborhood and what attracted you? Is the neighborhood still meeting the demands or needs that you moved here for? If you could change one thing about this neighborhood or subdivision, what would it be and why? Are you happy with the commute that you have to work? That's a loaded question and the reason you ask it. If you were to move and find a sub that addressed that one thing that you would change in this neighborhood, would you and by when? Thank you so much. My goal is to pull 100 people today. Would you like me to follow up with the survey results? Because I have a feeling if 65% or more of us say the same issue, we could bring it to the HOA and get it fixed. Would that be of value to you? gonna leave that there for you. You do with what you want. Do you see how that is your sphere? These are people that you know. You have this influence. Why aren't you tapping into the data? Why aren't you tapping into that? Why aren't you saying that? Just like that. If you did that to me, and you even started with that lead in, I'm talking to 100 people today, and if I get at least 60% of the people to agree on an issue, which I'll ask in a second what your issue is with this neighborhood, I think we can get it fixed by the HOA. Would that be of interest to you? To talk to me for 2.5 minutes total? Do you think they would talk to you? If that is really their biggest issue, if you consistently hear somebody saying, well, people fly around this corner all the time and the cement cracks, and every 2 years they're replacing the cement, and I'm worried about the kids that play. If that's a consistent issue, do you think a slow children at play sign and a 25-mile enforce would help? Do you think a radar? I mean, do you see my point? It's solution-based. And you're not begging for a transaction. You're looking to be a local expert, and do you think you'll learn more about that subdivision? Do you think you'll add people to your database? Who has done this already? Just like that. So now that you know you can't unstretch a stretch rubber, it's up to you to go stretch it. You know that that's a lead generation tactic. So if you hate the phones, there's a tactic. You can do the same thing at Panera Bread. They just come to you, don't they? You just got to get over that limiting belief of bothering people in a coffee shop. You with me? Make sense? Helpful? Actionable? Because on page 29, you're going to have leads, which lead to appointments, which lead to agreements, or like an agency agreement, exclusive right to sell, buyer agency, which lead to contracts, purchase agreement, written on an offer, or a listing, which is what we all love, payday. We get paid. Here's the rough math. If you're on database and people that know you, for every 10 people, you get 1 closing. Now this isn't your 3,000 or 4,000 people. This is typically, on average, 250 to 500 people. People who think of you when they think of real estate needs. It's the referral I have waiting in my messenger right now from my buddy from college who said I need to sell my home for Farmington. So I have my 5 questions I'm going to ask him, pre-qualify him, put them in the right hands for the right person, right? He thinks of me when he thinks of real estate. He's part of that 10. If you're outside of that, if you're just cold calling or cold prospecting or what I call Panera Breading it or Starbucksing it, right? That can drop to as low as 1%. 1%. So 100 people is 1 closing. So there's 2 schools of thoughts on this. Are there more people in this world that you know or don't know? Yeah. So you have a limitless supply there, right? So you could farm people you don't know like crazy and know that for every 100 you'll get 1 closing. So if you talk to 100 people a day, that's 5 closings a week. As you build systems around it. Systems. Because after you hit about 36 transactions, after you hit 36 transactions in a year, guess what happens? It's right around 36.
Start running out of time.
Time. Your lead, I just told you the last 2.5 hours, you're in a lead generation business. At around 36 or 3 deals a month-ish, hold a nugget, it turns into a leverage business. But John, my clients love me. John, I can't let go of my paperwork. John, nobody does it like I do it. Sound familiar? All things I hear all the time. That's fine. And you're probably going to stay at that 36 to 45 deals a year. You're never going to grow outside of it. Because you've chosen to focus on leads consistently yourself instead of leverage.
I want to make sure I get the definition of sphere right. So my sister's in my sphere. Suppose she's got a friend who I've never met. Is that friend in my sphere of influence?
It's a not met allied resource. It's a not met. You haven't met them. When you meet them, they can become your SOI. But right now, through your SOI, you have this not met. So in the MREA, anyone know what page that diagram is on? Pop quiz for Sean.
132.
I don't know what page it's on. I just know it's a good book to use as a resource. But if you're looking at economic and lead gen, that model specifically lead generation, it talks about SOI to allied resources to METs to not METs yet.
So I can get that person's address, for instance, from my sister, send her a calendar, whatever.
Sure. Well, here's what I would recommend. Have standards about what you consider an SOI. Non-negotiables is what I call them. So you need to have their address, email, phone number, their occupation, if they're married or not, their children. That could be, if I know these 6 things, I'm putting them in as my SOI. If I don't know these 6 things, then they're I met them, but they're not in my SOI yet. So I would tag them as met, not SOI yet, because I don't know the intimate details about them. If they called me and within 10 seconds looking up on command or my CRM, I can't find out that their dog's name is Louie, they're not an SOI. I don't have that relationship yet, but they're a met. I met them that one time at the gala event in the DIA. My goal is to make as many mets into my SOI as possible. And then you drip on them with love and value. Just like that example I gave in prospecting a neighborhood, you can add value to your database. Imagine if you called up an HVAC company and said, we're getting into the spring market here. I would love to blast to my 500 people in my database that I have an opportunity for the first 3 people to get their air conditioner inspected and cleaned. They save $100, and on a future purchase of an air conditioner, save another $200. Who would be interested, HVAC companies, to let me run that promotion on your company? Could you imagine? And then you have a reason of value to talk to 500 people in your database. Do you think 3 people will bite?
Sure.
I don't know.
I'm not clear on that. You're saying you call this HVAC company,
Your allied resource.
they've got their database.
Forget their database. Doesn't matter. No. You own the HVAC company. I call you.
Okay.
Mark, I have 500 people in my database. I'd love to run a promotion by March 1st as we get into the spring market and the weather starts to warm up. That transitional period, as you know as an HVAC owner, of furnace to air conditioning weather. I'd love to run a promotion that if the first 3 people from my database put a code together, code word, and they come to you and you knock 100, you give them a free inspection. And then they have a voucher for 36 months to get $500 knocked off their air conditioner if they buy with you. Anybody beyond that is people that you can now add to your database to talk to you about HVAC down the road. Are you in or not? Now when I go back to my database and I send that promotion, I say something to the effect of, your local realtor hard at work. I have a savings opportunity for you. The first 3 people that respond, well, and then you create that urgency. You just talk to them for a reason. Could you imagine if you called up your CPA and said, hey, would you knock $50 off of, or $20 off of, if you get at least 20 people from my database, would you knock off $20 after that fact to do taxes? I don't know, I'm just giving you examples. Add value consistently to your database. These are just ways that you can lead gen. I'm going to move for time's sake. But do you see how it's not just picking up the phone? Yes. So here is your daily 10-4. You're going to be getting an email today. So now we're going to shift into some homework and activities and then time for questions. Your daily 10-4. I promise that if you commit to this over the next 30 days, you'll hit your 2020 goal. If you choose not to, you won't hit your goal. Or you won't hit, that's what I say. You may hit your goal, but it may not be as repeatable and sustainable and duplicatable. So for example, when I have an agent come to me and they go, I sold 9 homes last year, blah, 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 and then I found out that their aunt sold 2 homes, moved to Florida, and they helped with the sale of that home. 33% of the 9 homes was from one aunt. How likely is that repeatable for 2020? All right, so I always think about that. But it's very simple. You add 10 contacts to your database a day. What did we just say was a contact, right? Well, I gave you an example. Name, phone number, email, home address, work occupation, spouse or kids, and anything else that you want to have a standard on of adding contacts to your database. Now, if you add somebody to your database on day one, and you just have name and number, or name and email, well now, step 2, speak with them. Get the rest. Come up with creative solutions, just like I've given you 3 or 4 today, to engage with them. And you do that every single day. So adding 10 people and speaking with 10 people is easier in the first week. Week 2, then 3, then 4, it gets harder. You run out of people. That's where the outward needs to start happening. 10 no's. This works. I want to break something down I haven't broken down before in the class like this. This right here is immediate business. You're planting seeds for long term, but it can be immediate business. It can be. This right here is long-term business. It can be immediate, but it's long-term most of the time. So in other words, 1 and 2, the higher likelihood that it's more immediate. 3 is long-term play. You're planting seeds. You're planting seeds. You're planting seeds. This is more immediate. This is more long-term. Either of them can be both, though, right? Like you could call somebody and they say, call me in 6 months. And you call them every month for 6 months. And then in 6 months, they do actually buy or sell with you. Well, that was a long-term, but it came from a call. You could be writing note cards to somebody, and you write a note card, they call you immediately and go, oh my God, I'm listing next week. Come interview me. They could be both. But the likelihood in what we have found over time, you have, this is what I would write down, golden nugget, prospecting versus marketing. Prospecting versus marketing. You with me? In other words, all of these are outbound, but number 3, you're looking for a call to action for them to come in. So that's marketing. And then preview 10 homes a week. I cannot stress this enough. Couple rules around previewing 10 homes a week. Please. Right now. So Charles is going to be giving you a document that quantifies, hang in there, we got 10 minutes, you're doing great. It quantifies what does preview mean. Couple rules around this, in addition to the checklist I'm giving. Do not set showings for homes. I'm going to be very clear. Please do not set showing for homes if the home is still occupied and you don't have a buyer. Don't uproot a family just so you can preview the inside of a home. That is just not fair. So in the conversations with other agents, when you find out it's vacant, that's a good one to probably go tour yourself, isn't it? If it's already vacant. But I just asked that, please, because I got some calls last year when igniters went out and ignited controversy. I was like, ugly, it's on me. I apologize to the broker. Okay, so that's the first rule on previewing. Can you preview homes without going in them? Heck yeah! Heck yeah! So here's what you could do. You could make a list of 10 homes in the area that you want to list and buy real estate. Preview them in the MLS and Zillow. See the disconnect versus connect and how it's marketed. So rude. And then you could say, okay, on Saturday I'm going to drive them. I'm not even going to go in any of them. I can see them without going in them anyways. That would be, would you agree that that would be a legitimate way? Now, is there something palpable and tangible about going into a home? Absolutely. You should be doing that. But if I look at 10 of them in a week on the MLS and Zillow and I'm comparing, and then I drive all 10 and I enter 2 or 3, that's good. To me, that's good. To me, that's good. You'll have a field trip in the middle to end of Ignite where you guys do that together. You have to return to see when. Questions on the daily 10-4? You're going to get an email from me today that has a link for you to actually record these numbers. Isn't that cool? It's all trackable. Here's the thing. Did you know that 100% of the people that track their numbers graduate Ignite? Did you also know that 70% of the agents, this is just me using rough head numbers, 70%, so 7 out of 10 of the agents that do this, have a contract executed by the time Ignite ends. So that could be an exclusive right to sell, that could be a buyer under contract. If you do this, you will have an agreement in the next 30 days. Or be well on your way to listing, because sometimes it takes longer than others. Does that make sense? Sean, anything to add to that?
And if you'll notice about this, which is great, is that this focuses on the habit. This is where, and this translates to everything. Where we fall off track is we focus on the result before that habit is in place. It's like Holly said, hates dialing the phone. So if you focus early, you haven't put in that time to practice, and you're calling, you're just focusing on, okay, I have to get an appointment today. You're going to be discouraged far sooner. The same thing goes, how many people set help for a diet goal for the new year? Nobody. Oh, you guys, good, you're already there. But what I found is what happens if you do not have that habit. So for example, if you want to set one for 30 days, all you should focus on is an hour later at night or an hour earlier in the morning and get up and prepare food. That's all you focus on. What happens is if we don't set that habit, you might get up one morning and say, oh, I'm out of milk, or I'm out of avocados. I'm just going to go, I'll stop at Starbucks and get some. And what happens? You're off track. So make sure before you focus on a result, you are setting the habit first to where you're always falling back on that, to where if you have 1 bad day, 2 bad days, it doesn't matter because you're just focused on the habit of dialing the phone, on knocking on the door, on getting someone your day.
All right, folks. Sean. Okay. So the handouts you're getting, and can we give a nice round of applause for Charles? So the Daily 10-4, again, you get an email as a follow-up with that. And what's cool about this is we're truly, for those who have taken Ignite before, there's a couple things I want to mention. If you notice, we've made a shift in a direction of where we're heading with a productivity coaching program. We should have somebody in place by February 1. I'm very excited for that. A couple updates. We haven't really formally announced it, but Al, I think we should do this right now. So Mr. Al Laporte, you guys know him as the tech guy, right? Okay. Does anybody also know that he's been a realtor for over 20 plus years, 25 plus, and broker for 15? Yeah, 15. So you are now looking at our newly minted broker of coaching. That's big. So they could do a round of applause if you want. What does that mean? As our program has grown over the last 3.5 years, my vision has always been to have a broker that reports to Doug and the OP, essentially, to support our newer agents on more broker-related questions. Contingencies and clauses and amendments and disclosures and all that stuff. So the PC can go attract faculty to teach and can do group coaching and one-on-one coaching, not answer legal questions as much. Does that make sense? So Al is stepping into that role, and we're super excited because he's going to continue doing his technology piece. But I believe this is going to be a whole other level of service for all of our new associates. And you're excited, right?
Oh yeah, this is great. I mean, I get to use not only the technology, but the experience that I have had through the real estate and the thousands of transactions that I've been involved in, and now help other people with that as well. So it's always been a goal, and we're there, and I'm bigger and better.
Well deserved. So that's going to be formalized in the next 60 days. I think we're announcement. You're the first to hear about it, so it's kind of cool. So if I'm newer, you're still going to have access to Doug and the leadership team. Al's a big part of our leadership team, and he's going to be our day-to-day broker for coaching. So we're super excited with that. So thank you, Al. Anything that you want me to say as I wrap up the next 5 minutes?
Just as you wrap up, each Ignite session comes with a mission that John's going to be talking about. Kind of like your homework, and you should do that prior to your next Ignite session. Now, your book has the actual missions in there. We've actually modified them as well. So if you go to the KWL One Step, under the training tab, you're going to see KWL Ignite. You can get onto that page, which we're actually recording on live stream right now. hopefully if everything works, you'll be able to watch the recording of the previous Ignite session, but you can click on what session you're going to be attending or you have attended and actually see different videos and different things that apply now. For example, some videos on how to get contacts into command, things like that. So I would encourage you to do that. Thank you very much.
Very cool. Thank you, Al. So with your documents that I passed out, we're going to finalize with some of the homework. So in future classes, we're going to have different lead generation tactics. Not just calling. So for example, in session 2, there's going to be a Facebook social media challenge that we work with you on, and the instructor, Sandy, will work with you on, and there's a whole competition we do. And so there's different ways to generate leads, and in class 2, we do it through social media. Okay? Be prepared in the next class to do a few things. Please have reviewed the email that will be going out by end of today. There's two videos to watch. You'll see that in there. There's the daily 10-4 tracker in terms of previewing your homes, adding people to your database, and I even include a spreadsheet on adding people to the spreadsheet in case you're not sure how to organize it. It's all there for you. It's all organized for you in that email. In addition to that, be prepared to discuss, remember that 80-20? The right activities in your calendar? So I've given you an example calendar, and I told you the 5 things that must be on your schedule. Does anyone remember the 5 things that I said that Gary Keller says you need to do to be successful? Lead gen, lead follow-up, go on appointment, write and negotiate contracts, practice. I cannot drill you in that enough. That should be on here. I would also add gym or meditation time. Very important to me, and I think balance is key for that. Do you think over the next 30 days your life is going to be changed a little bit? Do you think you're going to be busy? So there's an agreement of expectations that I've given you, which is also on the one stop, for you to sign, fill out an initial, and give back during class 2. And in addition to that, on the other, if you have family or significant other, tonight is a great exercise to sit down with them and let them know that over the next month, you're going to, daddy or mommy or husband or wifey or boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever, I might have some homework to do. And I'm doing this for a better future. So what I'd like to do is share with you my big why and how you're a part of that. But I'm doing this for myself and for you. And I'm telling you, when you watch the 2 videos, when you finish your big why, when you favorite the daily 10-4, and look over your expectations, you're going to set a great foundation for the rest of this course. This course is a lot about foundations. If I've done my job, it's about motivating you, inspiring you, giving you a plan to follow that is bulletproof, and having you be educated on the numbers of what you need to do. Have we done that today? Do we understand how many transactions we need to do? Have we peeled back some of the onion layers on what we need to do to motivate ourselves towards a big why? Do we know who's impacted when we succeed or don't? Have we done that today or no?
Yes.
Okay. Was this worthwhile time together?
Yes.
Was it efficient and pretty much action-packed the entire time? Okay. So here's, before we open up for any questions, here's the final thing. Before we leave here today, I need you to find a partner, a peer partner. It can be somebody you're sitting next to. I'd encourage you to branch out. Maybe it's who you spoke with earlier when we did the pairing share. Get their name and phone number. And this is your accountability and peer partner. And if you miss any classes, if you have any homework questions, if you want to go preview homes together. I really encourage you to do that before you leave here. Because I'm telling you right now, we have about 20 people or so, and it always happens. By the end of this class, there'll be about 12 that graduate. I hope this is the cohort that you are like, John, guess what? We all graduated. You were wrong. Ha! But I'm just telling you, with attrition, that's what I've seen. And what we have found is that it helps when you have a mentor or a partner, a peer mentor, that's kind of, it's like when you go to the gym. Going by yourself versus somebody that's texting you at 6 a.m. going, I'll see you in 15. Here we go. Get somebody to hold yourself accountable. Even if you're a part of a team, this is about your network, it's about your cohort. Lastly, and again, this will be in the email, I have scripts for you at the back of your chapter 1 for Ignite. I want you to think of scripts in this nature. Scripts are like your GPS. They're like your map. You don't need to sound like a robot. You don't need to sound salesy. Earlier, when I did that prospecting the neighborhood and I said the 5 questions, do you remember that? That was a script. Did it sound real? Did it sound like I cared? Did it sound like I could potentially have a solution to a problem you might have? Yes. It's a script. But it only becomes a script when you've internalized it. Does that make sense?
Is that in here?
That script is not. That's my script. But there's scripts at the back of chapters and all the way in the back of the book. Okay? Any questions for me as we wrap up? Or comments from Sean? Comments from Al?
John, do you think that we can watch this video?
Yes. So, right after this, Al will be posting this on the KWL One Stop under training, and there's an Ignite button there. You'll see it posted under Ignite One.
One thing that we'd like you to do is with each Ignite session, you're going to see under that training tab, under the Ignite page, you have the different sessions. And if you scroll down to the very bottom of the session, there's a course evaluation for your instructor, because we're always looking to improve. So don't worry, it can be anonymous unless you want to put your name there. So if John really sucked, don't put your name there. That would be my advice. But,
no, if it was good, my name. If it sucked, it was Sean.
Yeah,
It's
that's
that simple. But yeah, please do take time to do that because we're really looking to level up our training this year, and everyone can get better. It's good to take something that's good and make it even better, or great and make it even exceptional. Any final questions or thoughts? And that will be in the email you sent out too with the link to the survey.
This is kind of separate. But, it's about what's involved.
We still recording now? Please. Because if this